The CIA official document in writing states, over my stated objectives, the MKUltra files were destroyed by the order of DCI Mr. Helms shortly before his departure from office. A separate internal account confirms, quote, all files pertaining to drug research and associated activities. Gottlieb compiled 4 people, spent an entire day burning down 152 files. Then Gottlieb had his personal papers destroyed by his secretary before he retired. The head of the CIA-owned records center protested the destruction in writing, but he was overruled. That is obstruction of justice. That is criminal destruction of federal records, and neither individuals were ever charged with a crime for it. Helms received a $2,000 fine for lying to Congress about an unrelated matter and collected his government pension until he died. Gottlieb retired in rural Virginia and wrote poetry. No one went to prison. No victim was ever formally compensated by the government for the harm that they caused. By 1975, the Church Committee and the Rockefeller Commission had already established through sworn testimony and the surviving 1963 Inspector General report that MKUltra existed and that the CIA had run a program of human experimentation on unwitting Americans. The scope and detail of what we know today is largely because of an accident. In 1977, an archivist diligently complying with a FOIA request discovered 7 boxes of MKUltra financial records that had been misfiled and escaped the bonfire. Those 7 boxes included the names of institutions, the name of subprojects, the researchers who participated, the specific operation that the CIA had funded, and without them, the vast majority of MKUltra would only be a rumor, just as Helms and Gottlieb intended. Those 7 boxes revealed that MKUltra comprised at least 149 subprojects, operated across more than 80 institutions, and involved 185 non-government researchers. They revealed that the CIA covertly contributed $375,000 to a hospital research wing, which was approved directly by DCI Alan Dulles, which Richard Helms concurrence, so the agency could use unwitting patients as experimental subjects in what their own documents called a hospital safe house. The CIA-owned Inspector General said in 1963 his classified report concluded that the program had exceeded the agency's legal chapter, and covert testing on unwitting subjects placed the rights and interests of U.S. citizens in jeopardy. The program ran for a decade that we know of, and they ignored their own watchdog. Let me be clear what I believe that we are dealing with here. Administering drugs to people without their knowledge or consent, subjecting humans to psychological torture, and using prisoners and hospital patients as non-consenting research subjects. These are crimes against humanity. The Central Intelligence Agency committed them, and then the director of the CIA was ordering the destruction of evidence. Today, we will hear from 2 witnesses who have spent years unraveling the cover-up that our government ordered. Stephen Kinzer documented the life and crimes of Sidney Gottlieb in his book, Prisoner of Chief, and Tom O'Neill spent over 20 years investigating what the CIA buried and what they obscured that, in my mind, constitute some of the worst notorious crimes against humanity in the 20th century. Their persistence in the research in this hearing is possible simply because they are patriots. The American people deserve the complete record. The victims and their families deserve acknowledgement, accountability, and justice. And this Congress has a constitutional obligation to make sure that the CIA never does this again. With that, I'm going to be opening up first questions, and I'll hold my questions to the end to Representative Burleson. But before I do pass it, I did want to just note, a few weeks ago, we did receive reports. There's some back and forth regarding the CIA and ODNI pertaining to new MKUltra boxes that were discovered. Myself and Representative Burleson did go down to Langley. We did meet with the CIA, and the CIA is currently in the process of declassifying newly found documentation, although the documents, and I feel comfortable enough to share it here, pertain specifically to a forgery program that was being housed under MKUltra. So as soon as those files are released, we will be putting out notification with your help to also comb through some of the newly released documents, but I did want to give you a quick update. Without further ado, I would like to now recognize Representative Eric Burleson for his questions. Go ahead. Without objection, Representative Perry and Representative Higgins from Pennsylvania and Louisiana is waived on to the committee for the purpose of questioning the witnesses at today's subcommittee hearing. I need the opening statement. Yeah. And I'd like to now recognize Dr. Kinzer and the witnesses for the opening statements. I have to swear them in. Stephen Kinzer is a historian, journalist, and author of Poisoner-in-Chief, Sidney Gottlieb, and the CIA's Search for Mind Control. Tom O'Neill is an investigative journalist who authored Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s. And Elizabeth Genexi, did I say that right, ma'am? Genexi is an independent consultant and former senior program officer at the National Institute of Health. We look forward to hearing what you have to say today on this important subject. Pursuant to Committee Rules 9G, the witnesses will please stand and raise their right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record show that the witnesses answered in the affirmative. Thank you. You may now take your seat. We appreciate you being here today. Let me remind the witnesses that we have read your opening statements, and it will appear in full in the hearing record. Please limit your oral statements to 5 minutes. However, if it does go over, we will not be gaveling you out. As a reminder, please press the button on the microphone in front of you so that it is illuminated and members can hear you. When you begin to speak, the light in front of you again will turn green. After 4 minutes, the light will turn yellow, and when the red light comes on, that means that your 5 minutes has expired, and we will ask you to please wrap it up. I would now like to recognize Stephen Kinzer for his opening statement.
Wow, look at this. 94% of people believe company culture is important to an organization's success. Frankly, I have no idea what the other.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Let me begin by expressing my gratitude to this task force for confronting the enormous issue of overclassification of government documents and the culture of secrecy that enables it. I'm especially gratified by your interest in MKUltra, the project the CIA carried out through the 1950s in an attempt to find the secret of mind control. MKUltra was one of the most secret government programs in American history. The chemist who directed it, Sidney Gottlieb, lived in total anonymity. My book, Poisoner-in-Chief, may be the most complete account of MKUltra that exists in public, but I'm painfully aware that I have discovered only a small portion of what MKUltra was and what Sidney Gottlieb did. In 1951, the CIA hired Gottlieb and directed him to launch what became MKUltra. Gottlieb believed that in order to find a way to implant a new mind into someone's brain, you first had to find a way to destroy the mind that was in there already. In its search for ways to destroy a human mind and body, MKUltra conducted the most extreme experiments on human beings that have ever been carried out by a US government agency. By any standard, they qualify as medical torture. These experiments took place in prisons, clinics, and safe houses in the United States, in Europe, in Asia, and even in Latin America. Officers of MKUltra were authorized to travel to foreign countries, preferably those under formal or informal US occupation, and ask the local CIA station to provide them with expendables, human beings who would not be missed if they disappeared. Gottlieb had what amounted to a license to kill issued by the US government. Neither the number of MKUltra victims nor the number of those who were experimented to death is known. Gottlieb, as a result of this license to kill, might have been the most powerful unknown American of the 20th century. Some information about MKUltra spilled out during the 1970s, but senior CIA officers had intentionally let Gottlieb operate without supervision, so they were able to claim that they knew nothing about his excesses. This was a way for the CIA to deny its institutional role in MKUltra and to portray it misleadingly as the product of one man's sadism or excessive zeal. Investigating MKUltra is challenging because when Gottlieb and his mentor Richard Helms left the CIA in 1973, they illegally ordered that its records be destroyed. Soon afterwards, under DCI Stansfield Turner, a CIA analyst, as you pointed out, Madam Chairman, discovered a cache of MKUltra documents hidden among financial records. Turner credited that analyst with doing a very diligent job of Sherlock Holmesing. That same diligence, I believe, could bring results today. One of the great mysteries of MKUltra has to do with the death in 1953 of an MKUltra scientist, Frank Olson, who had announced his intention to quit the project. His plunge from a New York hotel room was described in the press as the suicide of an Army scientist. He was not an Army scientist. He worked for the CIA, and evidence suggests that his death may not have been a suicide. So there could be hidden documents that could illuminate this case. I would also point out that in addition to searching for unknown documents, this committee could do a tremendous service by simply asking for the end of redactions on the documents that we now have. There are reams of documents about MKUltra that have heavy sections redacted. In the 1970s, this was justified by the argument that it had only been 20 years since these terrible things had happened and revealing details might affect national security. Now 70 years have passed. That argument can no longer be valid. So I would urge this committee to try to fill out all the blank spaces in the documents that we have, because we know that is there. This task force could also consider trying to determine whether some new incarnation of MKUltra exists today. When the main phase of MKUltra drew to a close in the early 1960s, Sidney Gottlieb concluded that it had failed. That in fact, there is no such thing as mind control. Even if he was right, however, he may have been right only at that time. In the many decades since then, there have been enormous advances in cyber technology, in artificial intelligence, in neuroscience. Covert agencies may have access now to tools for mind control that Sidney Gottlieb could not even have imagined. It may well have been true in 1963 that mind control is a myth, but whether it's still true is uncertain. And that question of whether mind control might now be possible under our new circumstances is something that has presumably occurred to scientists who work for secret services, including our own. This task force has a chance to connect the past to the future. A renewed effort to find MKUltra documents from the 1950s and to fill out the redactions of those that have been released might shed new light on how the CIA operated during that period. It could also inform a new inquiry into whether any mind control projects are now underway inside the US security apparatus. That might help prevent the emergence of a 21st century MKUltra that could be even more destructive than the original. Thank you.
I got one challenge for you. Try Whisper Flow one time, and I promise you'll understand why I haven't typed the.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kinzer. I now recognize Tom O'Neill for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Luna, and members of the committee. Today, almost 50 years. Oh, sorry. Should I start over? Thank you, Chairwoman Luna, and members of the committee. It's a privilege to be here today. Almost 50 years ago, the last congressional hearings into MKUltra took place just a short walk from here in the Dirksen Senate Office Building. At those hearings, convened in August and September of 1977, representatives of the CIA told Congress and the American people that its 25-year effort to control human behavior had been a colossal failure. Because I believe Congress was never told the truth about what this program actually achieved. In fact, I believe the agency misled Congress in 1977 when it characterized MKUltra as a failure. My name is Tom O'Neill, and in 1999, I accepted a magazine assignment to write a story about murders committed by a group of hippies called the Manson family. For those unfamiliar with this horrific episode of American history, in the summer of 1969, 4 young people acting on the orders of a cult leader named Charles Manson went to the home of movie director Roman Polanski and murdered everyone they found there, including his 8.5-month pregnant wife, the actress Sharon Tate. The victims were complete strangers to their killers. The following night, Manson's followers murdered another couple in the same grisly fashion. At the time I accepted the assignment, I'd never heard of MKUltra, and I wouldn't for another 2 years after I'd missed countless deadlines, lost the assignment, and fallen down a nightmarish rabbit hole trying to answer the question I couldn't quite shake. How had Manson, a barely literate ex-con, acquired the ability to persuade ordinary young people to murder complete strangers simply because he had told them to? The pursuit of the answer to that question led me to Dr. Louis Julian West, known to his friends as Jolly. West was one of the most influential psychiatrists in America. During his career, he crossed paths with some of the most controversial events of the 20th century, including the Patty Hearst kidnapping case and the aftermath of the John F. Kennedy assassination investigation. In 1977, West was one of 7 academic researchers.
It's crazy how they do these committees like this, and I get it. It's pretty boring. You don't want to sit here and listen to people just talk, but the man is saying some very important things. He's revealing very important things, but our attention span is so fucked up by social media that we can't sit and listen to somebody talk for more than 1 minute unless it's something that's grabbing our attention, something that's entertaining us, something that's helping us to not think. We want to just float through life and not think about shit. And the government, this is why the government created the MKUltra program for mind control of its citizens, and it's been working well. And it's really pissing me off how people have really become NPCs and become sheep to the point where they cannot think for themselves, where they will not think for themselves unless the government tells them something, unless TikTok tells them something, unless social media or the news tells them something. They don't want to go for it. If it's not popular, if it's not popping, then people don't want to participate. But it's fine. The truth doesn't need a grand audience to still be the truth. The government sit here and told these people, us, the American citizens, 4 days ago, and this scream on a guy like 50K views. I thought it was more than that. But that's crazy. This should be viral. But because it's not attention grabbing, because it's so boring, there's no action, nobody getting blown up, nobody getting punched in the face, nobody wants to listen. And that's what they counting on. We want to be constantly stimulated all the time. We don't want to critically think about nothing. And it's really a piss off. And this app does a great job of suppressing live streams like this. The other day, I opened the app and there was a lady holding her legs up to the ceiling, giving the illusion that she was, I guess, having intercourse. TikTok, it was over 1,000 people in that live watching this woman do debauchery. TikTok promoting that shit. Didn't restrict her, didn't shut the live down, nothing. But me sharing videos about MKUltra, MKNaomi, and then a congressional hearing as if it's something that I made up, is not true, they take that shit down. And it's really a piss off. But I know why. Because it's the truth. They put the truth right in our face. They've been putting the truth in these movies the entire time. And if I was playing a movie right now, it'll be full in here. People be coming in here watching Supergirl having a good time. That's fine. but you should not want to be entertained all the time. You, at some point, like I said, you should want to think for your motherfucking self. You shouldn't wait for something to stimulate you all the time. Like, I know this white man right here is boring as hell, but you have to listen to what this man is telling us. These are his thoughts, his conclusions, but for Congress to publicize this and have a committee dedicated to this, it's the fucking truth. And we know they want to do it so they can say they did it. They really don't care that we know the truth. They just know they got to tell the truth somehow. So they're going to put it inside of these boring ass hearing committees. They're going to put it on C-SPAN where nobody wants to pay attention and watch. So I just urge you guys to just listen. And no matter how boring it is, it's about an hour. I skipped this one lady because she ain't talking about shit important. So I'm going to skip her. But we sit and we scroll and we waste time doing every goddamn thing else. So we can dedicate an hour to the goddamn truth. Share the live, tap the screen. I appreciate the likes. I see you, Christine, and whoever else in Second Chances and Bankhead. We shouldn't want to be constantly being stimulated. I'm gonna whine a little bit because this man, he's reading, but that means that he took the time to put these thoughts on paper to make sure that he was accurate. And this is big chance to reveal what he been all these years. The government been doing this shit since the 50s, since before the fucking 50s. That's crazy, Second Chances. So we know TikTok promote the shit they want to promote. They have an agenda, but
Of MKUltra
we
victims.
have an agenda too. The government has
Stephen
been
Kinzer for his opening statement.
conducting mind control experiments, y'all, using LSD.
Confronting the enormous issue of overclassification of government documents and the culture of secrecy that enables it. I'm especially gratified by your interest in MKUltra, the project the CIA carried out through the 1950s in an attempt to find the secret of mind control. MKUltra was one of the most secret government programs in American history. The chemist who directed it, Sidney Gottlieb, lived in total anonymity. My book, Poisoner in Chief, may be the most complete account of MKUltra that exists in public, but I'm painfully aware that I have discovered only a small portion of what MKUltra was and what Sidney Gottlieb did. In 1951, the CIA hired Gottlieb and directed him to launch what became MKUltra. Gottlieb believed that in order to find a way to implant a new mind into someone's brain, you first had to find a way to destroy the mind that was in there already. In its search for ways to destroy a human mind and body, MKUltra conducted the most extreme experiments on human beings that have ever been carried out by a US government agency. By any standard, they qualify as medical torture. These experiments took place in prisons, clinics, and safe houses in the United States, in Europe, in Asia, and even in Latin America. Officers of MKUltra were authorized to travel to foreign countries, preferably those under formal or informal US occupation, and ask the local CIA station to provide them with expendables, human beings who would not be missed if they disappeared. Gottlieb had what amounted to a license to kill issued by the US government. Neither the number of MKUltra victims nor the number of those who were experimented to death is known. Gottlieb, as a result of this license to kill, might have been the most powerful unknown American of the 20th century. Some information about MKUltra spilled out during the 1970s, but senior CIA officers had intentionally let Gottlieb operate without supervision. So they were able to claim that they knew nothing about his excesses. This was a way for the CIA to deny its institutional role in MKUltra and to portray it misleadingly as the product of one man's sadism or excessive zeal. Investigating MKUltra is challenging because when Gottlieb and his mentor Richard Helms left the CIA in 1973, they illegally ordered that its records be destroyed. Soon afterwards, under DCI Stansfield Turner, a CIA analyst, as you pointed out, Madam Chairman, discovered a cache of MKUltra documents hidden among financial records. Turner credited that analyst with doing a very diligent job of Sherlock Holmesing. That same diligence, I believe, could bring results today. One of the great mysteries of MKUltra has to do with the death in 1953 of an MKUltra scientist, Frank Olson, who had announced his intention to quit the project. His plunge from a New York hotel room was described in the press as the suicide of an Army scientist. He was not an Army scientist. He worked for the CIA, and evidence suggests that his death may not have been a suicide. So there could be hidden documents that could illuminate this case. I would also point out that in addition to searching for unknown documents, this committee could do a tremendous service by simply asking for the end of redactions on the documents that we now have. There are reams of documents about MKUltra that have heavy sections redacted. In the 1970s, this was justified by the argument that it had only been 20 years since these terrible things had happened and revealing details might affect national security. Now 70 years have passed. That argument can no longer be valid. So I would urge this committee to try to fill out all the blank spaces in the documents that we have, because we know that is there. This task force could also consider trying to determine whether some new incarnation of MKUltra exists today. When the main phase of MKUltra drew to a close in the early 1960s, Sidney Gottlieb concluded that it had failed, that in fact there is no such thing as mind control. Even if he was right, however, he may have been right only at that time. In the many decades since then, there have been enormous advances in cyber technology, in artificial intelligence, in neuroscience. Covert agencies may have access now to tools for mind control that Sidney Gottlieb could not even have imagined. It may well have been true in 1963 that mind control is a myth, but whether it's still true is uncertain. And that question of whether mind control might now be possible under our new circumstances is something that has presumably occurred to scientists who work for secret services, including our own. This task force has a chance to connect the past to the future. A renewed effort to find MKUltra documents from the 1950s and to fill out the redactions of those that have been released might shed new light on how the CIA operated during that period. It could also inform a new inquiry into whether any mind control projects are now underway inside the US security apparatus. That might help prevent the emergence of a 21st century MKUltra that could be even more destructive than the original. Thank you.
I'm gonna pause for the next guy say something. Look, they said he said there was a man. The witness testified that there was a man that wanted to quit the program. Hell no, I don't trust him. He wanted to quit the program, but all of a sudden he came up missing. Well, he came up dead, unalive, talking about suicide of an Army scientist, but he worked for the CIA. He said, so they just, and how they gonna get mad because the man wanted to quit? This government is so petty and narcissistic. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. It's like they're very immature, reckless, immoral. The government is somebody you would not want to be friends with, listening to their track record, how they treat people. The CIA overlooked what the man was doing with the MKUltra trial, so they can say they didn't know. Oh, we didn't know he was doing that shit. You knew he was doing something, though. You knew he was doing something that was very immoral. And then this was after the Nuremberg codes. the codes that were set forth by the United States because of the war crimes that Hitler was doing. But the US was the main one doing it to its own citizens, though. Violating those codes, doing unknown experiments on people. And it's just what we know. Because the files were heavily redacted. And like the man just said, in 1973, I forget which president got out of office, that he had those files destroyed. But somebody still has those files in their garage somewhere, in a safety deposit box somewhere. Those files aren't completely destroyed. And a lot of the files the man said have been heavily redacted. So they want to show you something, but still cover up the shit they're supposed to show you. That's so fucking annoying. That's a piss off, United States of America. That's a piss off, CIA. You gonna give me what I asked for, but you gonna cover it up. You gonna redact the shit. That's an asshole move if I ever seen one. And then you getting rid of people who knew that the CIA was full of shit. It's been 70 years and they still want to lie. Most of the people involved should be dead by now. God willing. They should be been disappearing from the realm by now. But they still worried about their little goddamn secrets coming out. The reputation has been ruined. America, the government has been exposed as a narcissist. As a bitch-ass narcissist. They always had something much bigger. That's why I only give us just a little bit. You see, it should be more people fooled in this congressional hearing. But when they pan out, you're going to see ain't that many people in there. They're not taking this shit seriously either because they already knew this shit. Doing mind control on the American citizens for what? For what agenda? We supposed to just be living our lives, having a great time, bringing heaven on earth. But you got a government over a group of people that wants to control the people's minds. Why? It's just great demonic activity. Anything that interferes with anyone's free will, you a motherfucking demon sent from the pits of hell. Because you aren't doing anything productive. You just destructive, destroying everything that you touch. Throwing a rock and hiding your hand. Letting this man go out and torture people for the sake of whatever. It ain't even for the sake of science. There was no scientific breakthroughs that came from these goddamn MKUltra trials. It's just them torturing the fuck out of people, fucking with their mind, and acting like they crazy. And that people be on the side of the road, street, homeless and shit, talking about the government did this to me, and they telling the goddamn truth. But everybody thinking they crazy. The government wouldn't do that. Why would the government kidnap you and want to control your mind? Cause shit, they telling us now. So we owe them people an apology. They owe them people some of the goddamn benefits and retribution. They ain't even getting them people no help when they destroyed them. They ain't even, okay, let's see how long it takes to recover from this shit. They ain't even care. Just discarded them and let people think they crazy and label them conspiracy theories. The movie Disclosure Day revealed that as well, talking about y'all ostracized anybody who only wanted to know the truth. You said they were crazy and blah, 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 but it's really the truth. Aliens exist. So the whole time they been gaslighting the fuck out of people, knowing damn well they dirty as fuck. And every person that goes through the presidential office or whatever, they know this type of shit. And they still keep it to themselves. So everybody is guilty. Every motherfucking body in government is guilty by association, goddammit. All this shit need to fucking go. That's why ain't nobody mad enough for me. These people sit here and telling us that they've been controlling our minds for decades. And now they're using the cyber security to do it. With these goddamn social media apps, with this goddamn algorithm. But everybody's still worried about the fucking World Cup. That's part of the shit too. They want to control our minds to make us do shit so they can just make money. For the sake of this fucking money and this fake ass power. These fake ass numbers in the bank account. I got more numbers in my bank account than you, so I'm better than you. Whatever.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kinzer. I now recognize Tom O'Neill for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairwoman Luna. Oh, sorry. Should I start over? Thank you, Chairwoman Luna, and members of the committee. It's a privilege to be here today. Almost 50 years ago, the last congressional hearings into MKUltra took place just a short walk from here in the Dirksen Senate Office Building. At those hearings, convened in August and September of 1977, representatives of the CIA told Congress and the American people that its 25-year effort to control human behavior had been a colossal failure. Because I believe Congress was never told the truth about what this program actually achieved. In fact, I believe the agency misled Congress in 1977 when it characterized MKUltra as a failure. My name is Tom O'Neill, and in 1999, I accepted a magazine assignment to write a story about murders committed by a group of hippies called the Manson family. For those unfamiliar with this horrific episode of American history, in the summer of 1969, four young
This pissed me
people
off
acting
right
on
here,
the
too.
orders of a
This Charles
cult leader
Manson
named
shit.
Charles Manson went to the home of movie director Roman Polanski and murdered everyone they found there, including his 8.5-month pregnant wife, the actress Sharon Tate. The victims were complete strangers to their killers. The following night, Manson's followers murdered another couple in the same grisly fashion. At the time I accepted the assignment, I'd never heard of MKUltra, and I wouldn't for another 2 years after I'd missed countless deadlines, lost the assignment, and fallen down a nightmarish rabbit hole trying to answer the question I couldn't quite shake. How had Manson, a barely literate ex-con, acquired the ability to persuade ordinary young people to murder complete strangers simply because he had told them to? The pursuit of the answer to that question led me to Dr. Louis Julian West, known to his friends as Jolly. West was one of the most influential psychiatrists in America. During his career, he crossed paths with some of the most controversial events of the 20th century, including the Patty Hearst kidnapping case and the aftermath of the John F. Kennedy assassination investigation. In 1977, West was one of 7 academic researchers named in a front-page New York Times story alleging that the CIA had used American universities, hospitals, and prisons as secret laboratories for experiments involving LSD and other drugs on unwitting human subjects. West vigorously denied the allegations. He acknowledged that the agency had approached him, but insisted he had refused because he said LSD was too dangerous and unpredictable to be used on humans. He added that he limited all of his research with LSD to animals. The revelations in the Times led directly to the congressional hearings held later that year. West's denials, however, were effective. He was never investigated, and his name never came up at the hearings. I'll spare you the long and tedious story of how my Manson reporting led me to West, except to say that I eventually learned that in 1967, when Manson transformed into the cult leader we are familiar with today, he and his followers were receiving free medical care at a clinic in San Francisco, where West had established a base of operations for a research project he was conducting nearby. After becoming intrigued by the allegations against West, I learned that UCLA, his last academic home, had inherited his paper following his death in 1999. Nearly 2 months and more than 200 boxes later, I found the proverbial needle in a haystack: correspondence between West and Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, the architect of MKUltra. The letters begin in 1953, just 2 months after CIA.
Oh, let me pause it real fast, y'all. Somebody on YouTube said, I don't know if dude's still in there, but I'm screaming this on YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, kicking everywhere else or whatever. So dude, like, it's not the government, it's corrupt people. People are just anti-government. So I replied, the corrupt people are in the government. Therefore, the government is corrupt. This is the highest authority in the land. The CIA, which was created by Bush Sr., wasn't it? No, but before he was the president. So these corrupt people in the government create these corrupt organizations. No, I don't think anything in the Constitution called for the CIA. I mean, I'm not no political person. I'm not no law person, but I don't. Matter of fact, the Constitution was created when my people were still motherfucking supposed slaves. So the Constitution doesn't even apply to us. These laws don't even apply to us. No one got the gut and said, damn, let's get a couple of motherfuckers to govern us because we can't govern ourselves. Let's get these fucking forefathers to come govern us. We need somebody to govern us. I don't think nobody elected these motherfuckers. Who said we need a government? Who said that? Who said let's make a government? I think they got their own cells in their room and did that shit. Nobody said let's do this. And then it became now we gotta do this every 4 years. Somebody gotta rule these people. They established their own motherfucking self. The government is corrupt because nobody asked for it. Nobody called for this shit. The people just used to being governed. They used to being told what the fuck to do. And the MKUltra ain't fucking helping. It ain't. They put the LSD in the fucking water system. They spread it in the fucking air. They do everything they can to try to control us, control our frequency. They do everything they motherfucking can. It's crazy. These people are fucking crazy. They crazy, nigga. The government is corrupt. We're not gonna defend nobody's actions in this motherfucker. There's no defending this shit. You are messing with people's free will to do what? To do the stupidest of bullshit with. You gonna even when y'all see realize when y'all when dude talk about Operation Midnight Climax, that's gonna piss you off too. Cause what the fuck is that even about? I'm gonna let y'all hear that shit on y'all own before I go in on that. These people are fucking sick. They're corrupt. And when my people was not free technically, they say into June 1865. Well, the Constitution was written in 1775. My people wasn't a part of that. Matter of fact, that thing said we were 3/5 of a goddamn human at that time. So this Constitution ain't for us, so-called black people of America. The Constitution was not made with us in mind. We had no representatives there. And nobody asked them to do shit.
Director Alan Dulles authorized the program. And while West was stationed at the Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas, where he was chief psychiatrist at the base hospital. In his first letter to Gottlieb, West proposed conducting experiments on unwitting human subjects, including military personnel, prisoners, and psychiatric patients at the base hospital. He then outlined the experiments themselves in 6 more pages that could have been written by Joseph Mengele. Using LSD in combination with hypnosis, West proposed inducing confusion, amnesia, and specific mental disorders in people who would remember nothing of their interaction with him afterward. He sought to develop techniques to extract true information and implant false information in unwilling subjects and to alter the attitudes and beliefs of, quote, previously loyal individuals. In other words, to completely switch their allegiance from one group or leader to another. But it was another sentence at the end of that letter that stopped me cold. These experiments, he wrote, must eventually be put to test in practical trials in the field. Gottlieb's response could hardly have been more enthusiastic. My good friend, he wrote, I had been wondering whether your apparent rapid and comprehensive grasp of our problems could possibly be real. You have indeed developed an admirably accurate picture of exactly what we are after. West replied that there was no more vital undertaking conceivable in these times. There was another document in West's papers that had even more significant implications. It was a 14-page report that West wrote in 1956, just 3 years after he contracted with the CIA. In the report, West described administering LSD and other drugs in conjunction with hypnosis on unwitting human subjects, and then he made a remarkable claim. He announced that he had learned how to replace true memories with false memories and people without their knowledge. In other words, he clarified, it has been found to be feasible to take the memory of a definite event in the life of an individual and, through hypnotic suggestion, bring about the subsequent conscious recall to the effect that this event never actually took place, but that it
Yeah, the ability to replace people's memories. That's the movie Inception. Now, people, it's crazy that they put this shit in the movies and use it for entertainment. That's why I say if you like movies, you should like this shit here. It's giving you the script. This has been the blueprint for all these goddamn movies in Hollywood, because Hollywood in on the shit too. This is their way of telling us what they're doing and getting our consent by us laughing and kikiing and ha-hawing at it. I don't know how my life is being flagged for misinformation when this is a congressional oversight committee hearing conducted by our very government. So where's the misinformation, TikTok? Of course they gonna say this is misinformation because they don't like what I'm saying. That's how I know it's the truth. I like when y'all do this TikTok because I know it's the fucking truth when I'm talking, and it's only gonna make me keep talking. So I accept these violations with pleasure, and I wear them as a badge of motherfucking honor. They gonna flag me back to back for the same shit, misinformation twice. And if you're supporting me, thank you too. I appreciate you too, because you also are a goddamn hater, and I love you the most because you damn sure let me know that I'm doing the goddamn thing. So I want you to keep hitting that report button as well. If I did get discontinued, I might climax on y'all. Anyway, this the bullshit. The movie called Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio and Chief Rod Hayes. I always say when they use Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie, that's they big hitter. That's they telling us some good shit. So Inception, when they was planting memories into motherfuckers that they didn't have, making them want to do shit that they really didn't want to do for whatever reason, they was hiring Leo and his team to incept people with false memories. And we know that's possible because of what this man just fucking said. So we gotta look at these movies I play from now on. You gotta look at these movies a little different. Because it's basically a blueprint. It's saying, ha, look at what the fuck we been doing. That's why I don't want nobody to see this. The Mulder been saying on the X-Files, the truth is out there. The truth has always been out there, waiting on somebody to stumble upon it and just say it. All the truth requires is a voice, an unfearful voice, an unwavering voice to just speak about it. You ain't got to add your own shit to it. You ain't got to take away from the truth. You just tell it like it is. That's it. That's all the truth it requires. These motherfuckers ain't shit.
different fictional event actually did occur. If West's report was accurate, this was not the failure agency officials described in 1977, quite the opposite. It was, in fact, the central ambition of the MKUltra operation, the means of gaining the ability to seize the control of a person's perceptions, memories, and ultimately their behavior. But there was still one more discovery, and this time I found it in the National Security Archives at George Washington University, the official repository of the CIA's MKUltra records, which were released to Congress after the 1977 hearings. In those holdings was a different versions of West's 1956 report. The original paper had been replaced by a 4-page summary that did not exist in West's files and appears to have been written by someone else. His claims about replacing memories were gone. In their place was a theoretical discussion of LSD in dissociative states. The versions applied to Congress concluded that the effects of LSD and similar drugs on dissociative states had, and I'm quoting, never been studied. never been studied. In the original report, West discusses observations from his own experiments, including detailed descriptions of using LSD to, as he wrote, speed the induction of the hypnotic state and deepen the trance in subjects. Those passages have been removed in the report turned over to Congress. The discrepancy could not have been more stark. Nearly 50 years ago, another congressional committee believed it had been given the truth about MKUltra. It had not. In conclusion, I respectfully submit that these records, some newly available and others that remained outside the government's disclosure for decades, warrant a thorough reexamination of what the program accomplished, what Congress was told, and what may still remain hidden. I'm happy to provide the documents I've referenced today, and I've provided many additional details in my written testimony.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. I now recognize Elizabeth Genexi for her opening statement.
Creators, take these 3 apps I built to run my business.
Hey, y'all, these comments during the actual live stream of it, the people in the comments, of course, going off. A lot of people they say they have experiences with MKUltra and shit like that. That's what they don't want either. Everybody getting together and sharing their experiences. When I was playing Disclosure Day, people were in the chat talking about how they had experiences with aliens and how this movie was basically triggering old memories. Like, I remember talking to somebody, they came to my home, it was a lady and a man, they had a suit on. So they know that these Disclosure Day and CERN turning out, they knew this shit was gonna start jogging some folks' memories. But I think he said something about the LSD 2. There's a sequel, so I guess the man said something about LSD-2. So I don't know the legitimacy of that, but it's something to look into because the comments just be going off. And I know just like the CIA watch these goddamn comments too, and they mad. They just mad because they upholding some bullshit ass oath that they took for not to protect the American people, not under that guise. Because you hurting people the time about you trying to protect them, that don't make no goddamn sense. You can't say that. You can't say I'm trying to protect these people, but I gotta hurt these people to do that. That doesn't make any sense. You gotta protect and care for all mankind. You can't hurt a group of people. And you know who they were testing on: veterans, prisoners, and people who come into them goddamn free clinics. Basically, they said if anything is free, they mean you the product. And where them goddamn prisons, free clinics mainly be at? So-called poor neighborhoods where so-called minorities live. That was the first lie right there. We are not no goddamn minority. If you are a melanated individual, you ain't the minor of shit. You are not a minority. That's crazy to even say that. We outnumber them, first off. And secondly, we ain't minor to shit. We are superior in every motherfucking way. Not superior over anybody, but in what we do, we just superior at it. Not at no people. We superior at the shit that we do. Sports, music, dancing, whatever. It ain't no, it's just genetics, goddammit. Hmm? So yeah, I appreciate the taps and y'all being here. And give my baby some juice. But yeah, we are not the minority. But they definitely was experimenting on our asses to see how it was gonna affect us. I was in the military, and I feel like I know they was doing some strange shit too to try to see how it was gonna affect us. But because I am who I am, the shit never did really work. But they did pump us full of shit. They did put shit in our food, put shit in the air vents while we slept, all types of shit to control our behavior, to make us docile. Cause how else you don't get a group of grown people to listen to a crazy motherfucker cussing them out every goddamn day? You just going along with the shit. You should want to swing on their ass, but nobody does. We just put up with that shit in the boot camp and get programmed and shipped out. So the military damn show is in military and prisoners is the same motherfucking shit. You just in the military, they give you a paycheck and you get to roam around outside, but you still in motherfucking prison. So the prisoners just got it worse because nobody gave a fuck about them po niggas. That's why the prisons are always overcrowded. That's why they keep building these motherfuckers. They're not building education centers. They aren't building anything to enrich the community. They building data centers that's draining the community of water, natural resource, and natural spring water. Peace, Rashad. And they building extra prisons, especially out here in Texas. All this land out here, let's put a prison on that bitch. For example, Tennessee Colony, Texas. It's not a city. Tennessee Colony is the name of a prison. But because it's so big and it's out there by its own self, it has its own zip code. Tennessee Colony, Texas. It's way the fuck out there in the middle of nowhere. Went to go visit my nephew when he graduated from there. My nephew was in high school. He didn't have a criminal record, but he just made a stupid decision because he was a little dumb teenager. And he was driving away from the police, and one of the police officers ran into him. He was an off-duty cop that wanted to come because my nephew was in the neighborhood. He wanted to bring his ugly ass out and try to do something. So he wound up getting run into my nephew. They got my nephew and gave him about 4 or 5 years as a teenager. Ruined his whole young adult life. Send him out there to a prison with grown ass real criminals and shit for him doing shit. And if he was a white boy, they would have gave him a slap on the wrist. They wouldn't even said shit. The man who left the neighborhood and hit him would instead say, "Hey boy, giving them keys and going back home, boy." If he was a white boy that he knew, let me take you back home. But now, let's put you in the backseat of my car and take you to jail and ruin your life because I'm a dumb asshole. So, and we gotta fill these prisons up to do this mind control on people. We gotta fill these prisons up. So send us all these dumb niggas doing dumb shit that we making them do with the mind control. We making them do the shit. I remember every summer in my hometown, it would be the same motherfucking fight on the same corner. Every weekend it seemed like. It'd be like clockwork. Every Sunday at the park, niggas gather up. It's guaranteed somebody gonna start shooting. I stayed with a girl, she lived across the street from the park. So every Sunday, it's guaranteed. Pow, 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 everybody running. You guaranteed to see people running through the projects, cutting through your house. Every Sunday, so I promise you. So, for no reason, mind control. They use the frequencies, they use the water, they use everything, these new fads, everything they use, they always got something in it. They're trying to poison us, control us any way they can. But we just getting in here, we're watching the oversight committee hearing about MKUltra. The CIA have been using against Americans for decades. And I only been posting videos only for a day, but TikTok keep taking my video down. And when the appeal gets approved and I reshare it, they take it down again. So every time they interfere with it because they don't want me, they don't want nobody talking about this shit. But it's the truth. These are no longer conspiracy theories. This is before Congress. They had this discussion. Mind control and accountability. Uncovering the truth of the CIA's MKUltra project. It's not nothing I'm making up. This is what the government has been doing. We just heard from one witness. So we finna hear from another one. I gotta skip this one lady. She was talking about the NIH, the National Institute of Health, and it had nothing to do with nothing. What up, twin? So I'm gonna go ahead and go forward, but I'll go back for the first testimony for those who just came in. But we owe people, the people who've been victims of mind control, and they've been saying this shit for decades. People have been calling them crazy. Some people do remember that somebody just picked them up and threw them in a van and took them somewhere. They don't know what happened to them. So they probably think they got abducted by aliens or some shit. But we just heard this man say the LSD experiments, they can replace memories, put memories in you like in the movie Inception, and they'll have no recollection of ever meeting the man that did it. So, but sometimes, the human mind is strong. So it'll be something that'll make that person remember and know they not crazy. Know something happened, but they can't put their finger on it. Because they done did something to these people. And you say that manly experiment on prisoners, the military, which is the same shit. I just said prison and military, we the same motherfuckers. They just gave us a paycheck and let's walk around with uniforms on. But in the prisons, they walk around with a uniform on too. It just confined. But anyway, so and most definitely homeless people. You know they was fucking with homeless people. Cause that man was saying in the first testimony, the dude was like, they authorized that man to go get people who they say were expendable. First of all, who the fuck are you to determine who's expendable or not? These people are so fucking evil. Who are you to? And they mainly went into impoverished neighborhoods. If for some reason I wonder why was there a hospital, there's a jail, there's a boys' home, all on the south side of my hometown, a big ass hospital. Everybody is born at that hospital. If you a nigga, you was born at that hospital. Because it's free. And what do we know about free? You're the product. You're the product when it's free. And all the melanated women coming through there, with not knowing that we just majestic and giving birth to majestic star seeds, they loving that shit. They loving that shit. The women popping out all these babies, we loving it. Getting all these placentas. Ooh, they loving that shit, boy. Right downtown in the heart of the hood, there's a giant hospital. And it's a training hospital for the LSU medical students in Shreveport, Louisiana. So they go to the training, to their hospital to train, do their residency, all that shit. That's why they do the C. Everybody got to get a C-section. And you gonna get experimented on by a student. They gonna fuck your C-section up. Your scar gonna be. I didn't think. I didn't slept with women. I didn't seen some fucking crazy ass C-section scars. I overlooked it. It ain't stopped shit. That thing still was hitting. But they done fucked up them C-section. Fucked them women up. Us up just by experimenting on us. I went to a good hospital. Had my baby nowhere in Louisiana. So my C-section scar is almost invisible. And I'm like, damn. Because I was worried it was going to be looking like theirs was. But I wasn't going to be tripping. But anyway, so we know they experiment on hospitals, prisoners, military. And I think that's mainly it. Not that they said. You know there's more. But
Chairman Luna and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I'm a health research scientist with a master's and doctoral degrees in psychology from the George Washington University. I spent 22 years from 2003 to 2025 as a scientific program official at the National Institute.
She wasn't talking about nothing, and I'm going to let y'all hear the man talk to her. And tell her that she wants to talk. The lady even cut her off expeditiously because she didn't want to hear what she was finna say.
Why are you still using bots for
her testimony? Had nothing to do with nothing. It was like people in the chat was like, she must be under MKUltra right now because what the hell is she talking about?
Approval has not been granted by Congress and
Dr.
should not be.
Your time's expired. I'll be now going to myself.
Thank you very much.
Questioning. Thank you, ma'am. My first question is for Mr. O'Neill. MKNaomi, the joint CIA Army program that ran parallel with MKUltra at Fort Detrick, appears to have been run with deliberate minimal documentation.
Hold up, y'all. Let me go back a little bit. She said, MKNaomi. Yes, the name Naomi. MKNaomi at Fort Detrick. Where was that at? Because that was also, that's in Maryland. It's in Frederick, Maryland. Of course it's in Maryland. Yeah, so the government was working jointly with the CIA. So they got MKUltra. These are just code names, MKUltra and MKNaomi. So the government is working together. So we know of course the military gonna use it for biological warfare to go try to control a group of, maybe say, Iranians, a group of Israelis, some Taliban people, maybe to control a group of people like that, to make them go hop in a plane, hijack it, and crash it into a building or whatever. So the military was looking into doing shit like that with MKNaomi. And remember, this is back in the 50s, so it's more advanced now. So by the time 9/11 happened, so we know MKUltra was a success, but we just not hearing about MKNaomi. So the military been doing much more nefarious shit, and they've been most likely experimenting with a larger group of a whole country of people. A whole country. When I went to Afghanistan, I didn't know why the fuck I was there. We wasn't doing nothing. Those people was minding their business, selling fruit outside in the hot ass sun. They wasn't attacking nobody. Motherfucking Osama bin Laden, they wouldn't.
1,112 PhD trained workers from 2025 to early 26. More than half of the NIH institutes right now are operating without permanent scientific leadership. The majority of its advisory councils required by statute to provide independent oversight have lost more than half of their members. The fundamental choice before this Congress is between a system where scientists make scientific judgments through accountable processes and one where political appointees make those calls instead. That choice will determine whether the next breakthroughs in cancer, Alzheimer's, antibiotic resistance, and pandemic defense will happen here, somewhere else, or perhaps not at all. I urge this committee to support a joint resolution of disapproval to block the proposed OMB financial assistance rule. That authority to replace peer review with political approval has not been granted by Congress and
Dr.
should not
Janeski, your
be.
time's expired. I'll be now going to myself.
Thank you very
5 minutes of
much.
Questioning. Thank you, ma'am. My first question is for Mr. O'Neill. MKNaomi, the joint CIA Army program that ran parallel with MKUltra at Fort Detrick, appears to have been run with deliberate minimal documentation. Army records on Special Operations Division have apparently been destroyed. In your investigation, what did you learn about MKNaomi, and do you believe its activities were even more serious than what we know about MKUltra?
I'm sorry. I didn't learn anything about those operations. I kept my focus mostly on Dr. West and his work. I do know that the only reason I found the documents I found was because Dr. West accidentally left them in his papers, and he probably did that because he corresponded with Gottlieb under Gottlieb's assigned alias, which was Sherman Grifford, and he addressed all his mail to a post office box here under a false corporation.
Thank you, Mr. I'm just going to real quick go to Dr. Kinzer. Are you aware of anything that exists with MKNaomi in your research? And if you could please press the button.
My understanding of MKNaomi is that it was a joint project between the military and the CIA. And there's a big difference because the MKUltra project was aimed at seizing control of the minds of individuals. The Army was interested in something different, which was trying to use biological agents in warfare against entire populations. So MKNaomi is the place where these two goals overlapped.
And that was the 1953 Frank Olson death. Was that in a way tied to that from some chatter that we had seen in?
Exactly what the motivation was behind the decision about Frank Olson, if there was such a decision, is unknown.
My next question is also for you, sir. Operation Paperclip brought over 1,600 German scientists into the United States government after World War II, including individuals who had conducted human experimentation in concentration camps. The CIA and military were aware of their backgrounds and recruited them anyways. In your research, did you find direct documentation between Paperclip scientists and the development of MKUltra's experimental protocols, specifically the use of mescaline, hypnosis, and sensory deprivation, which were techniques also documented at Dachau?
Absolutely. Kurt Blome, who was the chief of biological weapons development for the Nazi government, came to work for the CIA. So did Walter Schreiber, who was the Surgeon General of the Nazi army. I can just tell a brief story. When I was researching my book, I found what I think might be the first secret CIA prison or black site. It's a nice chalet in Germany. And the guy who now owns it took me into the basement. He said these were the cells where the MKUltra officers, working side by side with Nazis, carried out those gruesome experiments, which were actually just continuations of the experiments that those Nazis had been conducting just a few years earlier right down the road.
Just for timeline and clarification, these experiments were happening after the Nuremberg trials, correct? So the CIA would have known that these were crimes against humanity.
I looked for an episode in which the Nuremberg doctrines were posted on the wall in some MKUltra or CIA office, and I was never able to find any indication that those Nuremberg principles ever were even consulted, much less obeyed.
I built this website in 5 minutes with Wix Harmony. So I came across
the Nuremberg codes. Like I said way earlier when the live started. Let's go to it. So I had to look it up, see what they was myself. Because, of course, we don't learn these things in history class. We don't learn these things in, political science, economics, all that. Whatever these classes be when they teach us stuff about the government. Of course, we don't learn this shit. Well, I'm looking for the Nuremberg Code. All right. The Nuremberg Code was created in 1947, immediately after World War II, during the doctor's trial. Nazi physicians were prosecuted for conducting horrific medical experiments on concentration camp prisoners without their consent. The judges recognized there wasn't a clear intentional standard governing research on human beings. You wouldn't think you would need to make one. You wouldn't think that. You wouldn't think you would need to make a law to tell people how to treat other people humanely. You wouldn't think you would need that. So the judges recognized there wasn't a clear international standard governing research on human beings. So they established 10 ethical principles that became known as the Nuremberg Code. There's just so happened to be 10 of them, like the 10 Commandments, son. They're not original at all. And so the lady was asking the CIA, after they created this in 1947, the Nuremberg Code, the CIA started doing this 1951, 1953, started doing MKUltra trials well after they knew that these 10 codes were going to violate these 10 codes. That's why they attempted to hire an outside psychiatrist and look the other way so they can say we didn't know. The first and most famous principle says the voluntary consent of the human subject is absolutely essential. They already know nobody ain't gonna volunteer for no stupid shit like that. This man said that they did some shit where they made people mentally ill. They fuck with them that bad. They knew they was gonna be mentally ill afterwards. Ain't nobody finna sign up for that shit. They filled these psychiatric hospitals up with their own fucking people. They built these facilities and filled them up. Oh, we got these crazy people running around here. We gotta do something with them. Well, let's put them in these psychiatric places then. Dude in the comments over here during this live stream, I'm watching the live top chat replay or whatever. Dude was like, he was somewhere in the facility and the nurse tried to give him a pill. He said, well, what's in the pill? She said the same thing that's in the banana. He said, why not just give me the banana? Why not just give him the fucking banana? Because there wasn't a goddamn banana pill. There was something else. So these ideas became the foundation of modern research ethics. So 1947, the Nuremberg Code is established. 1953, the CIA launched MKUltra in direct violation. They did not give informed consent to be hypnotized with LSD. So these MKUltra experiments violated the very ethical principles the United States had helped articulate after World War II. That's some narcissistic shit. That's like I told you, the government doesn't be crackhead. It's like a crackhead will steal some shit from you and help you look for it. Shout out to the people watching me on YouTube. I appreciate y'all. Shout out to the chat here on TikTok. People in Rumble who will be maybe watching on Kick. So were oversight systems inadequate, or were they deliberately bypassed? If records were destroyed, how much of this record may be permanently unknowable?
Principles ever were even consulted, much less obeyed.
Thank you. My next question would be for either witness to comment, Dr. Kinzer or Mr. O'Neill. Both witnesses have written about the psychiatrist Louis Jolly West. Sidney Gottlieb, who ran MKUltra program for the CIA, hired West as a contractor to conduct research for subproject 43, combining hypnotism, drugs, and sensory deprivation to create dissociative states, in which, to quote Mr. Kinzer in his book, Poisoner in Chief, the human mind could be pulled away from its moorings. Following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, West psychiatrically examined Jack Ruby, then in prison for murdering the president accused of the assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin accused of murdering President Kennedy, Lee Harvey Oswald. A report emerged from West's examination said that Ruby had suffered an acute psychotic break. Can you explain why Dr. West in particular was chosen to conduct an examination of Jack Ruby alone in his jail cell with no other psychologist present?
Be happy to. West inserted himself into the case when Ruby was the day of the shooting, the day after the shooting. West approached the judge in the preliminary hearings and asked to be assigned to the case. He was refused by the judge. After Ruby was convicted at his first trial, an associate of West, Dr. Hubert Winston Smith, who was a psychiatrist and an attorney, took over Ruby's defense for his appeal. And he had already discussed appointing Ruby to the case, or excuse me, West to the case. And as you said, West examined Ruby alone at the jail cell and emerged to announce that in the preceding 48 hours, he had an acute psychotic break from which he would never recover. He had been declared competent to stand trial the first time by a panel of, I think, 8 psychiatrists. This psychotic break lasted until his death in 1967. 2 months after West examined him, Ruby testified for the first time and only time to the Warren Commission. And it was the first time he ever publicly was supposed to say what his reasons were for shooting Oswald. The testimony had to be halted because he was babbling incoherently. And as Arlen Specter, who was a counsel to the commission, wrote in his memoirs, he pulled him aside and said that they were cutting off the arms and legs of children in Albuquerque and El Paso. And he said he was making no sense whatsoever. West, in his letters to Gottlieb from 1953, discussed experiments where he would induce specific mental disorders in people without their awareness. A year before the Kennedy assassination, he publicly spoke in Oklahoma City and talked about his LSD experiments inducing psychiatric breaks and psychosis in people with the use of LSD, which of course later contradicted what he told the New York Times when he said he never used LSD in animal experimentation.
Attention retirees, if you're willing to be at your computer from 9 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. on most weekdays, I can show you one simple trade that...
What an interesting connection. I'm out of time, but I'll be now recognizing Mr. Burleson from Missouri for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your diligent work on this, and hopefully we will hear back from the CIA on those boxes of documents that have so many questions about. Dr. Kinzer and Mr. O'Neill, the CIA created MKUltra in 1953, supposedly out of fear that the Soviet Union and China had developed mind control capabilities. Let me go back a little bit further. So one of my questions has to do with the event that happened in 1951 in August in France. There was a bakery that, I guess the people that lived in that community, over 250, some say 300 people were poisoned from the bread. It was determined that that was LSD that was causing all of these people to hallucinate. Some people died. Is there any connection, Dr. Kinzer, to that event? And was that something that either inspired the MKUltra program or the MKNaomi program, or is that something that we were involved in even that early on?
I would turn that question back to you. I don't think anybody really knows the full story of what happened at that time in that town in France. That the United States could have been involved. That this could have been part of what was then called Operation Artichoke, the predecessor for MKUltra, seems to me not beyond the realm of possibility. There's a lot of overlap between the ergot enzyme that is the basis of LSD and certain rye and wheat funguses that can be used in breads. Was that something intentional? Was it something the Americans were involved in? I have my suspicions, but just based on my background as a journalist, I don't operate on suspicions. So I would love to see more investigation of that episode.
My next question has to do with once the program began. I think one of the most shocking things that we've determined is the Operation Midnight Climax that occurred in the early 1950s, 60s, where the CIA had safe houses. And there was, I say, Dr. Kinzer, I mean, this is extremely disturbing behavior that was happening, where you had American citizens who were being lured into these brothels and then dosed with an hallucinogenic and then filmed during their sex acts. Was there anyone prosecuted for these crimes?
No, there have been no prosecutions for any crime related to MKUltra, as far as I know. To me, the remarkable aspect of that Operation Midnight Climax was that there wasn't even the pretense of scientific experimentation. The person watching behind the one-way mirror was a grossly overweight drug officer sitting on a portable toilet and drinking cocktails out of a pitcher. There was nobody there that was a scientist or somebody who understood sexual behavior or human psychology. So there was no science involved in it at all. I can add a little footnote. When I was researching Poisoner in Chief, I came across a document in which one of the officers involved in setting up that program, Operation Midnight Climax, said that Sidney Gottlieb himself used to fly from Washington out to inspect the project regularly and always asked that women be provided for him. So
that was my next question. Do you think that the agents were involved in the sexual encounters?
Well, and could that have actually been the reason why the bordello was opened? there was no prospect of any serious scientific result out of that project, given the personnel who were overseeing it. So those CIA officers, particularly Gottlieb, involved in overseeing Operation Midnight Climax, certainly were able to take advantage of what it offered.
Thank you. And my last question. First, I want to say thank you to Mr. O'Neill. The book Chaos, I checked it out from the Library of Congress and greatly appreciate your work there. I was intrigued by one of the statements that you made based on your research that the MKUltra program, they were actually successfully able to replace memories. And because of that, I'm wondering if, and Dr. Kinzer, you can chime in if you have any knowledge of this. Did the program continue, and do you think that the program in some aspect is still continuing today?
You're asking if the program continued after 1973 when
That's
it was halted, supposedly. I honestly, that's a question I'm asked at almost every appearance I do. Is it happening today? Did it continue? I don't know. I can't imagine that it didn't, though, because the technology that they worked to establish over 20, 25 years and spent more money on than any operation the CIA had ever conducted was successful. I imagine it's being used. I have no evidence of it being used, so it's a complete assumption.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is Base 44. This is a first look at the current industry.
I would just add that one of the letters to which Mr. O'Neill referred contains a quote from Mr. Gottlieb saying that these experiments were necessary, quote, in these times. I think it's important to put yourself back in that mindset where the United States felt that it was under such overwhelming threat that the loss of a few lives or a few hundred lives was a small price to pay. Commitment to a great cause is one of the most fundamental justifications for committing immoral acts. And patriotism is among the most noble of causes. It can be twisted and it can be used as an excuse to carry out research under the guise that this is simply research we're doing to protect ourselves against others. And I think that is a mindset that may still be active in some parts of our government.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, he said that perfectly. Under the guise of patriotism, they do these experiments. They was basically trying to compete with China and the Soviet Union. They were trying to compete with somebody. Very egotistical, this goddamn government is. You say that even with them, they don't faking the moon landing because they wanted to say they was the first on the moon, and they faked that shit. Cause you watch that shit, even I can't find that video nowhere. I think it was a mission to Mars rover or something like that. And that man was describing how the machine was gonna fly out there, but it was a goddamn toy. But back in the 50s, they couldn't tell what they was looking at. We got HD TV now in 4K. And we could see that shit was not finna make it through no goddamn space. It was like something off the show Lost in Space they created. And they was explaining to the American people back in the 50s, this is gonna go all the way to Mars and collect rocks and send data back to us. They didn't have that technology. They was so full of shit on that shit. It was a whole cap. It was in black and white. So our parents and grandparents watching that shit and believing it. But they did it because they wanted to be the first at something. And they tricked everybody out of goddamn time. So they trying to protect themselves because China and the Soviets was already doing it. So let us do it too. But you're gonna hurt the American people in the process. Because you talking about you trying to help us. By hurting us, that's the most crazy abusive shit you can do. But Operation Midnight Climax, I don't know if y'all was in here. The government purposely hired sex workers to lure men into these apartments that they paid for with the American people's money. This was the most expensive operation they did, the man said. Because they rented these apartments out in San Francisco and New York City. The hottest cities on the East Coast. They knew what they was doing. Set them up like brothels. Of course, men finna come in there and pay for sex. Because they some horny motherfuckers. So they luring these men in there watching them through a one-way mirror as these sex workers do their thing on them. The men don't know they've been laced with LSD. They don't know they being watched by the government through a mirror, watching the effects of how LSD work. And we know the government does this. I posted a video a long time ago of a normal-looking housewife-looking lady. A white lady, black and white, the man gave her something to drink. It was LSD. So a few minutes went by. She started seeing shit. She started, oh, you don't see that? Something just went through me. They did this shit and they filmed it. They thought it was cute. They want to see how people look fucked up on something. That's crazy. So Operation Midnight Climax. They watched men have sex on LSD. They had little wild Diddy parties before Diddy was having Diddy parties. Cause they was on the other side of that mirror getting off on that shit. Cause they perverted. Let's just be real about that. But this is the government that did this, y'all. The CIA, Operation Midnight Climax, they called it. Well, they hired prostitutes to have sex with men while they watched. Nothing came from this. No scientific breakthroughs. They just spent money on hoes and apartments. And drugs. Oh my God.
You, Madam Chair, my time has expired. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Burleson. I now recognize myself.
I recognize his hair.
Thank you to the witnesses for coming today.
You trying to have
testify about MKUltra. Dr. Janexi, you said you worked for the NIH, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you left in 2025?
That is correct.
I noticed during your opening statement that you had nothing to say about the content of this hearing being about MKUltra. Your statement seemed to be based more on your issues with this administration's attempt to reform and rein in the NIH. Is that a fair assessment of your opening statement?
My opening statement was talking about the destruction of the NIH and cancellation of grants and political control of the NIH.
Cartoons make complex ideas easy to understand and are incredibly effective at teaching.
Would you deny that the NIH had involvement in the funding of the Wuhan lab?
I don't have any knowledge about any funding related to the Wuhan lab.
He asked her about COVID.
So are you denying that the NIH?
I'm basically here to talk about what's happening right now at the NIH and how we really should be letting science be driven by scientists and not by politicians.
Well,
because that's how we fund cures and make health progress.
Well, with all due respect, ma'am, do you find it ironic that for years we were told to trust the science, and then in the aftermath, we've all found out that most of what we were told during COVID was a complete lie and it wasn't scientific at all?
The number one thing that I think that we're doing to destroy trust in American science right now is canceling clinical trials. In the middle of those clinical trials, this does incredible harm to the patients who are receiving experimental treatments, and it really destroys the trust that we have in how do we recruit patients for future trials if they are knowing that their trials could just be simply canceled for political reasons.
Right. I don't think anybody up here would deny that there's never been anything good that's come out of the NIH and that you guys have done some good work, but you just brought up trust. Do you think the NIH has a trust problem based on how they handled COVID?
No, I do not. I think that the NIH is beloved by the American people because we know about the advances in human health and cancer treatments and heart disease and diabetes and all of the health gains that the research has produced.
Well, I think you're wrong, ma'am. I think the public has a serious mistrust issue with the NIH. Do you deny that the NIH tried to cover up the origin of COVID?
I'm not here to testify about that. That's not my area of science. I have no knowledge of that.
Do you believe that the NIH supported masking and social distancing when there was really no science to support that?
What I'm more concerned about is what's happening right now to destroy the Biomedical Research Institute that has been the envy of the world. And right now, we're ceding our leadership in biomedical research to China. That's what's happening right now.
What about covering up harmful side effects of vaccines and the role that the NIH has played in that? What do you have to say about that, ma'am?
The U.S. history of human subjects protection has evolved greatly. Numerous research improprieties from the 50s to the 70s in the United States, including the Tuskegee syphilis study, forced Congress to establish formally federally
I'm not asking you about that.
mandated rules.
You know what I'm asking you about? I'm asking you about how NIH handled COVID. Obviously, this is supposed to be a hearing about MKUltra, but when you gave your opening statement, and I don't even know why you were called to this hearing because you didn't offer anything about MKUltra. But since you are here and you're going to defend NIH, I'm going to call you out on it. Do you see now what I'm talking about when you say that the NIH doesn't have
Y'all see that?
integrity?
Yeah, well, y'all heard it. Because on her testimony, she didn't say anything that had to do with anything going on about MKUltra. She talking about the NIH. So he caught her out on it. NIH where they funded the Wuhan lab, where the COVID, the virus supposedly came from. With them, and they talking about the NIH is beloved by the people. Anything associated with the government is beloved by no goddamn body. Not even the funds they supposed to give us for free is beloved, because that comes. Look how empty the goddamn room is. You figure there'd be more people in there. You figure the room will be full, and they'll want to check their own people. They'll want the CIA and your Congress members, your Senate and your House of Representatives will want to come in there and check these people. You figure it'd be full in there. They don't give a damn. They don't give a damn.
You to two of our witnesses who are here to actually talk on our subject here today. Mr. Kinzer, in your book, Poisoner in Chief, you describe how Project MKUltra was
here to speak on the subject. Like I say, she's talking about the NI. You trying to comment, they blocking some of your comments out. It says some comments in this live were filtered to protect the community, so you try to say something. Yeah, they filtered your comment, Rashad. They filtered your shit. But yeah. So she basically went into bot mode, talking about the NIH and their research has done this and done that. But in pursuit of their research, how many people did y'all hurt? You can't be hurting people and talking about you saving people at the same time. That's crazy. You hurting others to save whom? Exactly. Not the people. You in Texas right now? You in Texas right now? Oh yeah, that's right. I don't know. It do feel different out here. I was just out in Houston too the other day. Yeah, I forgot you said you was coming out here. Today my niece's birthday. I sure wanted to they moved to Dallas, so I can't see her. This is my first birthday party I done missed since my sister moved away. But what up, Amber? Welcome to Texas, Rashad. You should feel our energy. You should feel Lisa and Paris and who else out here? Me? But I definitely was in Houston, boy. I went through little Missouri City. It's crazy out there. You drove out here? Or you flew? Yeah, hey, we'll see each other soon enough. Speaking of which, the Quantum Soul Fest dates have changed. If y'all are interested in attending 22-hour drive, no stops. What? Wow. I know you had to potty. You didn't bring the children, huh? I know you didn't bring no children because I drove 3.5 hours with the stop in every goddamn restroom down 90 because I had to pee too for some reason. But Talia had to keep pottying. We stopped a lot. Yeah, no sleeping. Yeah, I get it. Especially you just be ready to get there. If you got the energy, you might as well get it going. I'm glad y'all made it. Did he gets gangster as fuck, Amber? With the cheering back there. Hey, sit down. Be quiet. Anyway. But yeah. Okay, I'm glad you had some help. Okay, that's good. That's what's up. You still drove the most. You still drove the most hours. You a trooper, boy. But yep. So this happened on June 30th right here. My y'all's probably driving. No, y'all wasn't driving yet. But this is what's going on. The government out here doing mind control on people and telling us about it. And they want us to be quiet about it. And we'll tell y'all this shit, but don't go telling no goddamn body. You had a time illusion. Oh, I'm very excited to hear about that. You gonna tell it to the tribe.
Authorized by CAA Director Alan Dulles in April of 1953 as an umbrella program for research into the covert use of biological and chemical materials for mind control and interrogation. What specific geopolitical and intelligence concerns, particularly regarding alleged Soviet and Chinese, quote, brainwashing and Korean War prisoners, drove this authorization? And how did Cindy Gottlieb's unique background and personality and worldwide view shape the program's direction and methods and ethical boundaries?
Let me start by answering your second question about Gottlieb. He was a very different person from all of the other senior CIA officers of that era. Most of them came from silver spoon backgrounds. They went to the same prep schools and the same Ivy League colleges and belonged to the same yacht clubs and worked for the same law firms and international banks. Sidney Gottlieb was the son of Orthodox Jewish refugees from Central Europe. He had a limp. He had a stutter. He went to Hebrew school. He was so different from all of the other officers. And upon reflection, I think this may not have been an accident. I think that people at the CIA understood that whoever had this job was going to be doing some awful, terrible things that would be very bloody, that they might become known, and it might be necessary to blame it all on somebody. And they didn't want to have to blame it all on one of their own. So Gottlieb actually became the person on whom everything was blamed. In fact, when he testified in secret here in Congress in the 1970s, he complained that there were documents on which various signatures had been redacted, but his alone had remained. So is a way of diverting attention away from the institutional responsibility of the CIA and trying to blame it on one crazy person. As for the international situation at the time, I think it's very important to understand this because there is a sort of a parallel to today. The CIA misinterpreted several key incidents in the world, including those to which you referred, the trial of the Cardinal Mindszenty, and then in Hungary, and then the return of Korean War prisoners. Neither of those episodes really had to do with mind control, but in the CIA, they were interpreted that way. And this gave the CIA a reason to pretend that its research was purely defensive. So I think when you consider the world situation and the sense in Washington that we're surrounded by enemies, that becomes a very dangerous environment. Conspiracy theories stem from the growth of the covert sphere. There's a great contradiction in American life that we pretend to uphold certain principles at home and abroad, but it's evident to many Americans that we actually operate in opposition to those principles. and we operate by secret and anti-democratic means. That contributes to suspicion of government. And the very existence of MKUltra proves that some of the wildest fantasies about secret government research are actually close to reality. That makes the paranoid mindset seem ever more rational.
Thank you. And I'm going to have to cut off several of my questions now, but that was very intriguing, so I wanted you to continue. MKUltra ultimately encompassed at least 149 sub-projects involving more than 80 institutions, universities, hospitals, prisons, pharmaceutical companies, often funded through cutout foundations to conceal CIA sponsorship. Can you detail how these funding and operational security mechanisms worked in practice? And then just another subset, if I don't get back to asking a question, did the CIA or government or any of these entities ever say that what they were doing with MKUltra and mind control were productive or for the betterment of humanity? Did they ever make those claims? Thank you.
As for your second question, I'm not aware, other than in private communications, that the CIA ever claimed that it had made great advances under MKUltra, because it largely denied that MKUltra ever existed. As for the foundations, yeah, these are, Sidney Gottlieb created a couple of bogus foundations. They're called cutouts in CIA slang. And these are foundations that appear to be independent, but actually are fully funded and controlled by the CIA. It was those foundations that approached hospitals and clinics and asked them to become involved in research, particularly into LSD. So many of the institutions where these experiments took place did not even realize that those foundations were actually covers for the CIA.
Thank you very much. And Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you. I now recognize Representative Mace from South Carolina for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. Dr. Janexi, you work with the NIH, correct? No, I am no longer affiliated with the NIH.
When did you leave the NIH?
All right, real fast, y'all. Real fast. They said a lot. That man be the white hair. She said 149 subcommittees. That's a lot of experiments, and that's not even half of it, because they scored a lot of evidence in 73. But what caught my ear was Big Pharma. I ain't hear that at first. All I heard was prisons and hospitals. That should have knew Big Pharma was in there too, because we know the medication that they push. We know that the doctor's always told to prescribe. There's a pill for that. You got side effects. There's a pill for that too. Cat Williams' infamous joke. No, was that Chris Rock? One of them said, "Do you go to sleep at night and wake up in the morning? Well, you need this pill." In the ongoing joke to where they're playing all this happy ass music on these commercials for some pill for jaundice, some long ass scientific name. That's the generic name, then the brand name, and then somebody happily dancing, but in small ass letters at the bottom, may cause diarrhea, nausea, death, nigga. You're probably gonna die from this shit, nigga. You know, it got that down there at the bottom too. So Big Pharma helping to distribute this shit. They just drug dealers. They all drug dealers. Just pushing this shit out to the American people. Cause they change pills all the time. They change the color, they change the shape. And when I was working as a pharmacy tech, I did not like it. That was the worst job. That was the best paying job, but it was the worst feeling. Having to go. I ain't know at that time about vibrations and shit like that. There's very low vibrational working in that motherfucker. Cause I'm giving people poison, and I knew it. It was just like working at McDonald's. And I was giving people poison there too. Standing in the drive-thru at McDonald's selling poison through food. And now I'm at the pharmacy making good money, but still giving people these pills that's still poison. So it just, you damn if you do, damn if you don't. And I thought I was doing something with my pharmacy tech job. making about $14 an hour. Ooh, look at me. But I wasn't happy doing that shit. I quit and started living in my Jeep. That's how much I was ready to escape from the world. I thought I had made it somewhere to the top, but I was still at the bottom. Pushing pills out the window, the old people. And they coming in there wondering why they pill change, thinking it's not going to work the same. Because they brain is already hooked on this pill, and this pill is working for me. Now that it's green, it's not going to work. Not knowing the whole time it's them that's healing their own self. That pill a goddamn placebo. Your body, anyway, it definitely gonna flag me for misinformation for that shit. But our body is wants to heal itself, and we see the government means us no good. And at the end, the CIA MKUltra project included hospitals, prisons, military, pharmaceuticals. So these people cannot be trusted. I hate when my mama go to the doctor and come back with a prescription for some blood pressure. Ain't nothing wrong with your blood pressure, woman. They just told you gonna have high blood pressure because you probably just got off the goddamn city bus to get there. Cause your blood pressure high riding the bus with them crazy ass people. Your anxiety high. So and you need to take this pill. They gave us some pills before talking about she was diabetic. She was pre-diabetic. Like everybody is pre-something to me because you ain't got the shit yet. So you gonna be pre-it. It's possible you can become a diabetic, sure. So you're pre-diabetic. That's how they be running that shit. They tried to make me take this shot, and myself told me don't do it. I said, good. That was your higher self. They tried to trick her, tell me something. You don't take this shot, you can get pneumonia, and you could die, and be on a ventilator. She really told me that. The nurse told me that. That bitch was trying to get you just to get that goddamn vaccine. And she said when she told them she ain't want it, the lady stormed out, and she didn't close the door all the way. She heard her say, she said she don't want it. Like she was very disappointed. My mama didn't want to take that shot. And I also remember at the pharmacy, they wanted to give us $5 a head for each flu shot that we got people to do. People are already coming in sick. And I know what a vaccine is. So why would you want to make them sick? And they are already sick in the first place. Give them a flu shot. Their immune system is already vulnerable. You're just trying to off people. So we can't trust none of these people give us. We can't trust our doctors telling us to take this shit. And the most of the shit come from a plant in the first place. They just can't patent nature. They can't patent the aspirin that comes from nature, like a willow bark tree or wherever they get it from, whatever plant. But they can patent the acetaminophen and give it a brand name, Tylenol. The brand name Tylenol and acetaminophen next to each other is the same shit. Tylenol just got a pretty package, and they got more money to brand. But right in Walmart, it's the same goddamn pill. The word in parentheses is the generic name, and you will see that generic name in the off-brand shit. It's the same pill. Nature got the answer for everything too, but since they made it synthetic, and man gonna fuck everything up, the synthetic drugs they make has harmful side effects. Cause they gotta put their own little twist on it because they trying to fuck with us. How the hell you give me in the military? You giving me something for PTSD and depression, but that pill is causing suicidal thoughts. Why would you give me that? I'm reading the fucking side effects of this thick ass small. They folded up real small and tape it to the side of the bottle. You unfold that bitch like a goddamn map. It's like a world map. You unfold that goddamn prescription thing. I'm reading the little ass side effects, suicidal thoughts, nausea, vomit. I said, if I'm already depressed, why would they give me this and it's gonna make me have suicidal thoughts? So I'm not taking this shit. I just took it because they gave it to me, but I didn't pop those pills. I just took the prescription and act like I was taking it. This shit was crazy. They're actively trying to kill us. Actively. trying to control us with using everything they can that they say is good for us. Like dude said, you saying trust the science, but the science was lying to us during COVID. We can't trust you no more. Turns out y'all don't know shit. Turns out y'all just all about that money. Turns out y'all like doing mind control on people. And you haven't stopped. You said they stopped in the 70s. Oh, we're not doing it no more. Bullshit. Why would you stop a 25-year operation that was going well? Why would you just stop? It said it doesn't comply with the 4U feed. The reason is mental health. I got reported for mental health. I don't know. Who knows? My mental health is fine. I'm not under MKUltra control. I've been marked safe from MKUltra. TikTok. In the movie Disclosure Day, the dude was doing something similar with a device. He called it diving in on people. He was controlling that lady, trying to make her kill her own fiance or whatever he was to her lover. She's finna get ready to kill the man she loved because the dude was controlling her. MKUltra. They got these devices, these frequency devices they use to do things with. But let's finish this up. This shit is boring, so I'm thank y'all for being here. It's making me sleepy too. But they put this shit like this so we won't really pay attention, and we thinking it's just boring. But the lady talking fast. She want to get her questions out for the time. So you gotta listen to what the question she answered. I mean, she asking. Cause she got all the good questions. Then I'm sure they already rehearsed this shit. But thanks for sharing with us.
April of last year.
April of last year. Did you ever speak with Anthony Fauci or any of your NIH colleagues when you were there about the NIH's role in funding the Wuhan Institute of Virology or the development of COVID-19 virus?
No.
Do you believe that the NIH or Dr. Fauci lied to the American people about COVID?
No.
Are you familiar with Dr. Fauci's statements to Congress about COVID?
No.
You didn't watch any of Dr. Fauci. You worked at the NIH and you didn't watch any of Dr. Fauci's.
No, I did not work at NIAID.
Okay. Do you think that the COVID shots harm American citizens?
No, I do not.
Do you think that the COVID shots cause turbo cancers?
No.
Have you read do you know if the NIH or NIAID track COVID shot injuries or cancers or anything harmful from them?
I am not aware of any harmful tracking, and this is not my area of expertise, no.
What is your area of expertise?
I'm a research psychologist, and I did not work at NIAID.
And you're here for what reason?
I am here to testify about what is happening to the NIH right now.
You're not here to testify about MKUltra.
Y'all heard her? She said she's here to test the bot.
Because I got a...
She said she's a bot. She MKUltra client.
Ultra.
I am here to...
ITs.
I'm a research psychologist, and I did not work at NIAID.
And you're here for what reason?
I am here to testify about what is happening to the NIH right now. I did not work at NIAID.
And you're here for what reason?
I am here to testify about what is happening to the NIH right now.
You're not here to testify about MKUltra?
I am not an MKUltra expert.
Why did the Dem
Black and collard greens? This is, and you gotta eat everything on your plate. Don't leave nothing on your plate.
Yeah, but back then we was eating more. We was eating from the earth, the herbs and stuff, burdock root, elderberry. We was in tune with that, and that's the stuff the women knew because they're the first nurturers, the first women here, so they had that science. So
But
when they
the
teach you the
ladies
church,
now are not doing that because the ladies now have been so comfortable and untaught from the grandma the previous, they lack that knowledge. Some of them lack the now basic knowledge of how to use a washcloth. So some of them going to use the basic knowledge of how to make home care medicine.
Mm-hmm. You're right, because my grandma, they had the home remedies. My grandfather, that's what old man lived so long. You talk about the black man, he don't go to the hospital. Yeah, he ain't go to the black man, but look how long our grandfather living back then. Because our grandmothers had them home remedies. Everything
I knew they was gonna do it, y'all. I'm still screaming over there on YouTube. I didn't end the live, but I already knew that they was gonna do that. So of course they discontinued the live. Welcome back, Emma. They discontinued the live for misinformation. They couldn't take that big form and shit no more. I knew they was gonna do it, and I don't care. Like I said, I love it, TikTok. It let me know that I'm on the right track, and I'm just gonna keep on doing the shit. That's why I have like over 8 pages now. If you discontinue this on TikTok, I'm just gonna start another goddamn live. I'm just gonna do that. And this is for entertainment purposes only. But we back. This lady is, and they can't get. I'm not the one saying this TikTok. This they talking about COVID and shit at the White House or whatever they at. So the hazardous misinformation is coming from the people they actually involved with. So this is just entertainment TikTok. It's just it's a YouTube video. We're in here having a good time. I'm in here lying my ass off talking about MKUltra. This is all just fun, y'all. This is such bullshit. It's such bullshit.
Okay. But you don't know anything about MKUltra, which is the purpose of this hearing. All right, so I have a couple questions for our witnesses who are here to talk about MKUltra, and thank you, gentlemen, Dr. Kinzer and Mr. O'Neill. What are some of the worst abuses that you're aware of in the MKUltra program?
I can start by just naming, I'll talk about one in particular that always sticks in my mind. In the federal prison in Lexington, Kentucky, a group of African-American inmates was segregated and fed what were described in the protocol as double, triple, and quadruple doses of LSD every day for 77 days.
Did they all survive?
We have no idea what happened to them. This has stuck with me ever since I wrote that book. What happened to them? Did they ever find out what was given to them? Did they think they were going crazy? Did they? I think if the.
Do you think we're still experimenting on prisoners or people in prison today?
I don't have any information about that.
Okay.
I'm hoping there'll be another book about
Mr.
what's
O'Neill,
happening now.
what are some of the worst abuses in MKUltra?
There were many. The Frank Olson case, which was referenced earlier, that was a murder. I don't believe that was a suicide. And the motivation was because he was going to be a whistleblower. He worked at the CIA. He worked in the development of biological weapons, and he was planning to go public and announce that the United States government was using biological weapons in the Korean War. And also, he was going to share what he knew about MKUltra experiments, including lethal experiments. And there's a documented case.
How many, gentlemen, how many people do you think died through the MKUltra program or were murdered?
No idea.
If those who died largely were outside the United States, many people were experimented to death in that safe house in Germany that I visited. And people in the neighborhood told me they knew what was going on in that house and that people who were experimented to death are now buried in what used to be forest plots that are now covered over.
Do you think
with
the German government knew what the US government was doing? Do you think there was a partnership there or knowledge?
Yes. There is a memo that was written by the German Secret Service to Konrad Adenauer, the Chancellor of Germany, telling him Americans are here capturing citizens, capturing people and conducting extreme experiments which are in violation of German law. And Adenauer decided to put that aside and not to investigate.
I have one more question because I have 15 seconds. Is this a massive cover-up by the US government?
it's certainly a cover-up of what happened in the past.
Mr. O'Neill?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, Representative Mace. I now recognize Mr. Perry from Pennsylvania for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks to the witnesses for being here. To Dr. Kinzer and Mr. O'Neill, I want to focus on the information that we do have and things of that nature. Do we know of, can you name the locations, say the prisons, the hospitals, other institutions, and the cutouts as you described, either one of you folks described them, that would be familiar to us or the American people? Can you name these?
Yeah, if I could begin just by saying, at the end of the 1977 hearings, Senator Ted Kennedy and Senator Daniel Inouye, who were the co-chairs, demanded that there be an investigation to find out who were the perpetrators, where were the experiments conducted, and most importantly, to locate victims, compensate them, notify them, because many didn't even know they'd been experimented on, and give them lifetime medical care. President Jimmy Carter and Attorney General Griffin Bell said the federal government will begin an investigation. That never happened. Instead, the CIA created something called the Victims Task Force to investigate itself. It was a two-man investigation to locate victims, and they only looked for people who had been experimented on in the safe houses. They completely, because I interviewed both of them before they passed away, they completely avoided institutional experimental programs at the hospitals. And you're asking about the hospitals, the Oklahoma City Hospital, Lackland Air Force Base Hospital, the Lexington Addiction Center, which Dr. Kinzer referred to, the Holmesburg Prison, Vacaville Prison, universities all over the country, Yale, Ivy League universities. None of those records had, there was a criminal investigation was also supposed to start into Gottlieb's destruction of the records. That had been announced by the Justice Department. And I interviewed Griffin Bell and asked him what happened to all those investigations and what happened to all those efforts to locate victims. He said it just must have fallen through the cracks.
So it was the DOJ that was supposed to investigate?
DOJ, the Department of Justice, and they just kept passing it off and passing it off.
Do you know if the DOJ...
See, they keep, this, for y'all, those of y'all who just coming in, this the second live. The first live was discontinued for misinformation, and they just flagged this one for misinformation that may cause harm. It cause harm to who? TikTok. This man is just telling the truth. Again, this is a congressional oversight hearing, a committee. It was screened live on the Forbes Breaking News YouTube channel. Forbes, an accredited magazine or whatever the hell Forbes is. It was screened live from the House Oversight Committee. TikTok. How's it misinformation if it's supposed to be legit from the government? Are these people lying? Because I'm not even saying anything this time. They told me I was misinforming people. Now they saying this man right and misinforming people. These are the people that they're supposed to be important. TikTok. It's not misinformation. So again, if they discontinue this one, I'm gonna go to the next page. I don't know what.
Jay and their investigation visited the places that you've named?
No, absolutely not. From
wait, hold on a second. They didn't, or you don't know?
Oh, no. I asked the two men who did the investigation, and they said all we did was look into what happened at the safe houses in San Francisco and New York City in 1962.
So is it possible that information and documentation remains at the prisons, the treatment centers, the universities where these things were conducted? Is that possible?
Yeah, well, I found Dr. West's records at UCLA in his file. Hospital records are really hard to get because of HIPAA laws, and prison records, the Bureau of Prisons do have a lot. So yeah, it is possible there's still documents buried places.
What were the average ages, if you know, of the people that were experimented on? Were these children? Were these middle-aged? Were they...
Well, there were adolescent studies done in juvenile detention facilities and jails with kids who were 16, 17, 18 years old, and at institutional schools for wayward kids, the National Training School for Boys here in Washington, D.C.
What I said in the other live, in the heart of the hood, there's a big ass hospital, there's a boys' homes, there's the rec center. It's all on the same street. There's a hospital, boys' home, we call it the P Farm. It's a correctional center. It's not like a jail or a prison. It's just a center, and it has the barbed wire and the high fences around it. That's all in the heart of the hood. All these things is why he asked them where are the ages. He said, yes, children and juveniles, wayward children. So they use these poor children can't defend themselves. And they get caught in the system so early. And they love telling them you'll be back. And then when you turn 17, you're gonna get tried as an adult and go to the real jail. They just set the youth up for failure. Using drugs. The drugs that's in our neighborhood, we don't have any airplanes. We don't have any boats and ships to go pick up kilos of nothing. We aren't pressing pills, making X pills. These people are doing this shit, and we know the CIA was putting drugs in the neighborhood. We know this. We know this from the Black Panther story, the Black Panther Party story. We know the CIA loves putting drugs in the neighborhood. We know this. And now we know even more with these hearings. We know the extent of their evilness and how they systematically want to fill these facilities up. On the same road, you can find a hospital, a correctional center, a boys' home, a recreation center, all in the heart of the hood. They put these places here and fill them up, fill these facilities up. Then, okay, now we need Medicaid and Medicare to pay for this shit. Now the healthcare system finna pay for this shit. They creating the problems and giving no solutions. It's creating all the problems. Psychiatric hospitals filled with people that they abuse, people they experimented on, knowing their life gonna be fucked up forever. They never gonna be the same, and they don't give a damn. So, yeah, the government ain't shit. Basically, this shit getting worse and worse. It's almost over.
You had them. So it ranged from, I think, adolescent, pre-adolescent, through any age.
If you could describe, either one of you, the number of potential victims, if you could hazard a guess.
There were 149 programs that we know of that were subcontracted outside of
149 separate programs.
So yeah, outside, and that's what we know of. Again, everything we know of is minuscule compared to what was really going on. So I mean, that could have been into the tens of thousands, and I believe that's another reason that nothing was pursued, because if those people were compensated, it could have bankrupted.
Has there been any recent attempt to locate, identify victims of this?
Not that I know of.
I would just add that there's been considerable progress in this regard in Canada. There was MKUltra research going on at a psychiatric hospital in Canada, and the Canadian government has made a real effort to try to find out who the victims were, and also to compensate them and to provide them with medical treatment. So if we're looking for an example of a place where it was done better, even though it was on a much smaller scale, Canada would be a place to look.
So other than embarrassment to the federal government, maybe agencies involved, and particular individuals who are probably likely deceased at this point, what is the reason for the mass redaction of the information that we do have? Has any reasoning been given?
Shame?
I'm sorry?
Shame?
That's what I'm saying, other than embarrassment, but I think it stands to reason that probably the individuals involved in conducting and authorizing this activity are probably all deceased.
Sure.
At this point. Is there any reason to believe otherwise?
I make those arguments in my FOIA requests, but it doesn't get me anywhere. I don't know about you, Dr. Kinzer.
All right, my time's expired. I'll give.
Thank you, Representative Perry. I'm now going to go to a second line of questions. So I'll be recognizing myself, followed by, I believe, Representative Bober and either of the representatives if they'd like to join in. I wanted to elaborate further, Dr. Kinzer, on what you had stated about potentially there being bodies, the locations, Germany, because I'm going to reach out to the German government after this to get the ball rolling on that, if that is indeed the case. Can you just elaborate further on what you were hearing from people in that area, what they were saying, and then also to potential locations of bodies?
First of all, the memo that Chancellor Adenauer received is on the record. You can find that memo warning that these operations are going on. I did speak to people who lived in that area, and they all understood. Some of them had cooperated with an investigation by a German magazine, Der Spiegel, that called that house the CIA torture center. And in that article, it said there were deaths, but the number is not known. So it was a secret to us. But what we were doing in that house was really not even a secret to the people in the neighborhood. It reminds me of the bombing of Cambodia. It was a secret to us, but if you were living in Cambodia, you would have known about it. So I think there is fruitful ground for research looking into what happened in Germany and seeing what can be found out about these hugely destructive and devastating projects that were essentially systematic torture going on in this house and who knows how many others.
Just to confirm too, when you found the initial transcript with the Chancellor or correspondence, was there a response from the U.S. government to the Germans?
No. The U.S. government would possibly have advised Adenauer not to pursue it, but I don't think Adenauer would have even need to be told that. He would see it, he would understand his close partnership with the United States made it impossible for him to criticize anything the U.S. was doing. Don't forget, this was not so long after the end of the Second World War. So no, there was no effort by the United States ever to reveal anything about what happened in Germany. And in fact, one of the FOIA requests that I made that was never fulfilled, and one that I would urge you to pursue, is what was Sidney Gottlieb doing during 2 years in Germany? He went to Germany and went to live there as a case officer. I was never able to find out what did he do during 2 years in Germany. There were huge numbers of MKUltra experiments going on in Germany, including a number that were fatal. That would be a very interesting catch of documents to find.
We will definitely be following up. My next question would be for either Dr. Kinzer or Mr. O'Neill. Declassified CIA records have revealed that officers deployed overseas have used USAID funding as an official cover, or USAID as an official cover for operational work that had nothing to do with the mission of USAID, i.e. humanitarian aid, medical relief, etc. In some cases, CIA officers operated under USAID cover engaged in lethal activity in places such as Vietnam, running assassination missions during the war in country from 1965 to 1975. And since MKUltra seems to have found its origin in drug experiments conducted on prisoners overseas, and first by the SS in Nazi Germany and then by US intelligence in camps captured from the Germans, do you believe that USAID may have been used overseas to further influence or further the MKUltra, for example, on prisoners of war? Since part of USAID's mission was to administer drugs to the poor and needy populations, would the organization have abused its mandate by poisoning foreign populations or creating disassociative states for interrogation or torture?
I can't speak directly to AID, but it's certainly true that during this period, after the Second World War, the United States was using publicly announced and official U.S. government agencies to carry out covert action. We now know, for example, that 5% of all of the money appropriated for the Marshall Plan was diverted for covert activities. A number of U.S. agencies were used as cover by covert operatives, and that AID could have been one of them sounds very likely to me.
And the NIMH admitted to allowing itself to be used for covert funding of MKUltra experiments in the 1970s when the operation was disclosed.
Thank you. I now recognize Representative Burchett for 5 minutes.
All right, hold up, y'all. Let's talk about that for a little bit. I'm gonna have to rewind a little bit because I was chewing some chips and they was loud. But I heard the part about the government funds. They always stealing money. They'll raise money for something else and then divert those funds to where they really want it to go. They always trying to raise money on the guys or they finna do something benevolent, but ends up doing something malevolent with the money, with the funds, because we gotta go with the needs of the whatever, and they needs gotta get met first. They so selfish. Let's see. Life whipping their asses. Now I'm here for the bullshit. Yeah. They were trying to say a lot of this was just conspiracy theory, but now that they having these oversight committee hearings and disclosure is being revealed, they didn't shut CERN off. A lot of things are being revealed and they're hoping nobody pay attention. I started this live because TikTok kept taking down my video and I was talking about Operation Midnight Climax. They mad at me as if I made this shit up. The CIA picked the name for this operation. Operation Midnight Climax, they call it. It's to where they hire sex workers to lure men. Well, you ain't gotta do much luring. Well, they got sex workers to, bring these men to these apartments that they rent it out and set up like a brothel. The men come there, the women slip them some LSD, and the government, the CIA, is watching them from a one-way mirror. So they using government funds. This was the most expensive operation they had. The witnesses said, Operation Midnight Climax was the most expensive and biggest operation. They did it in San Francisco and New York City, the two major coasts, two major cities, to cover all their bases and all the debauchery. They started out the debauchery. This bullshit. They started the shit. They encourage these prostitutes to bring these men, lure these men in, these succubus women, these succubi, these sirens, to lure these men in so they can watch them have sex through a mirror. This is what the CIA was spending money on, y'all. This operation served no scientific purpose. Nothing was gained from this operation. It was just them being nasty and having Diddy parties before it was a Diddy. They was called CIA parties then. They giving these men LSD and watching them get their freak on through the mirror. Nothing came from this. This is what the government was doing, y'all. And they called it Operation Midnight Climax. They thought that was cute. So this is what they diverted funds for. You probably thinking you giving money to feed the homeless. You giving money for educational programs. You giving money. You running where your taxpayer money going. You running why these roads aren't fixed because the money is going to stupid shit. And they asked them, do they think that, where are we? This is why I ask these questions all the time. What is this world? What is this? And they was doing this shit behind closed doors. He says 149 subcommittees of this, so we don't know what they was doing and what the people under them was doing and the people under them was doing. They're not going to tell everything. A lot of the files were heavily redacted, and in 73, they destroyed a lot of them, supposedly. But somebody know, a lot of the men who were in the part of this bullshit have moved on. They moved on to the other side, and they still trying to hang on to these damn secrets. But they was doing shit like that just to see the effects of LSD on men in that state. Just an excuse to be to have debauchery shit going on under the guise of patriotism. That's crazy. These men was getting paid to do this, y'all. Getting paid to watch people fornicate. Nothing, and absolutely nothing came from it. No scientific breakthrough, just people on LSD. It's what the hippies and shit in Woodstock. They don't talk about Woodstock and stuff no more because a lot of women was getting raped out there by these men. So it was it's okay, baby. It was a very horrible time, but they obviously had them out there and people out there for days, stanky, funky, dancing around in a trance, taking them little tablets, putting them on their tongue. I'm going on a trip. This is the dawning of the age. Yeah, come on. So that's what was going on. And they started the shit in the 50s and carried it and said it ended in the 70s. But that's when shit started really kicking up, huh? Hey, baby. Had these wars and shit, and then the government, like,
You can take those.
and MKNaomi was a joint CIA program. They had MKUltra and MKNaomi are just code names. MKNaomi was what the military was using. So, of course, they interested in doing biological warfare and controlling mass populations. So a lot of these so-called wars that's been going on, who knows how they really started. And they got the power to control the masses, and the technology is more advanced now. That was back in the 50s. So here we go. Here we are, 2026. We got AI. We got social media platforms. We got all this programming. And they telling us how they did it. The movie Inception, I don't got frequency. If you still in here, the man testified about that. How they can take people's thoughts out, how they can put thoughts in people, and they can replace memories and shit, fabricate memories, like the movie Inception. They've always been telling us what they've been doing and what's possible. Always. So yeah, the movie Inception, one of the men on this hearing testified that they can do that. Through LSD and hallucination, the man said he can make somebody believe something that's not true, and then they'll have no recollection of that man. So they probably can put the shit in the form of a spray, just spray it in your face. Or like MIB, that little light, Men in Black, that little light just flashed in your face and tell you anything. They've always been telling us what's possible. They spray the air, they put it in the music, they put it in the food. Like I said earlier, in the military, they had something in the food, man. They had something in the air vents, had to. Nobody had any nobody was horny. Nobody had any sexual desire. Nobody. And that was unusual for a group of young people and together in one spot, and nobody wanted to get the booties. And my ass wasn't even interested in doing nothing. And I was in the perfect place for it. You know what I'm saying? Females stay with females, males stay with males. So that was perfect for me. But so it was something in the food, something to make us docile and complying with the bullshit they was doing to us. Us accepting the shit in boot camp like it was normal for a person to be screaming in our face, telling us we ain't shit. Like it was normal to take that abuse. We had to been given something. And they say they know the biggest experiment was done on pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, prisons, in the military. So the lag I discontinued last time, I'm talking about Big Pharma, so I can talk about Big Pharma right now. I'll wait. But the hearing almost over. Let's finish the rest of it. That's why they speaking so fast. Because they got all the questions. But MKUltra, MKNaomi, and I'm going to go over some other operations they've been doing. Because they didn't stop. It didn't stop in the 70s. It's continuing well on. It's much advanced. And they doing it right now. They keep running the same play.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Thank you all for being here. I remembered when all the talk about MKUltra broke, and then they were talking about lawsuits, and there were lawsuits, and
that's actually when the live had ended for real. On the other live, y'all, when I care about why they keep they keep flagging for misinformation, so they might end this live. But I just come back on another one. But because I kept rewinding that part, they definitely end the live. Because the lady asked her, "Why are you even here?" She said, "I'm here to testify. I'm here to testify." She glitched. She glitched, y'all. And they mad again. And they gonna end this live. And I'm gonna go to the next page. So let's keep going.
CIA and the federal government said that this didn't exist, and then they came back and said, well, it does exist, and then, but we're not doing it anymore. I guess my question to y'all first is, which lie do we believe? Because, thank you. Obviously, there was an open bar before this thing started, so thank y'all. But Dr. Kinzer? Hit your mic, brother. You're not on the mic. It's an old CIA trick. I'm just kidding.
I put myself in the place of one of those senior CIA officers, and I'm thinking to myself, like the ones back in the 1950s, well, other people must be doing this. We'd be falling behind if we don't do it. And nobody's looking over our shoulders. And that, I think, is your job. So I think there is a definite air of urgency and total secrecy. If any current research is going on, and if it's conducted in any comparable level of secrecy to the original MKUltra, it's very deeply secret.
But one thing you said, though, it's going to be hard for Congress to act when they're so dadgum compromised. Let's just be honest. I mean, y'all are in the business of twisting ears and telling us things that we've done, and that sways a lot of people up here. Somebody doesn't want to wreck a marriage or their business or lose this glamorous job that we have. And so I suspect that has a lot of play into it. Sorry to interrupt you. I apologize.
All I mean to say is that I think if there are such projects going on inside the U.S. government, there might be a sense that we can do this without any hostile supervision.
What are the possibilities that what we've learned in MKUltra, now that it has advanced so much to algorithms and the computer and getting to loners, that some of these loners could, through this just mass propagation of whatever you're doing, could cause someone to maybe take a shot at a president?
I know there's a lot of speculation out there about the Butler shooting, and I guess even the Charlie Kirk shooting. I just hate to speculate because I don't know. I have no firsthand knowledge whether those guys were programmed through radio waves or through their computer activity. So I would never hazard a guess, except to say what I've already said, that they developed means that we've never been told about many, many years ago, and I imagine they've evolved to be much more effective now. So
let me interrupt you one more time, and I apologize again. But don't you think that they could cast this broad net through these algorithms and other things, and maybe they don't know the exact person it's going to affect, but they know what type of person it's going to affect, and they know it's going to happen, and that way they can't predict when it's going to happen, but they think it will happen, and then that way they can sort of wash their hands of this whole thing and say, well, we didn't have anything to do with it, but in effect they really did, because they put this out there and they continue to put it out there to whatever method you're talking about. Go ahead, guys. I'm sorry. Ma'am, if you want to jump in, because that's going to affect. And
more effective now. So
let me interrupt you one more time, and I apologize again. But don't you think that they could cast this broad net through these algorithms and other things, and maybe they don't know the exact person it's going to affect, but they know what type of person it's going to affect, and they know it's going to happen, and that way they can't predict when it's going to happen, but they think it will happen, and then that way they can sort of wash their hands of this whole thing and say, well, we didn't have anything to do with it, but in effect they really did, because they put this out there and they continue to put it out there to whatever method you're talking about. Go ahead, guys. I'm sorry. Ma'am, if you want to jump in.
She's with NIH.
Okay. Doctor, go ahead.
It sounds to me like you're describing something like the Martin Luther King assassination. The FBI didn't carry it out, but it created such a climate just denouncing King as the most dangerous man in America and putting out all this material about how he was helping communists that they must have thought it's going to filter down. Somebody will take action, and then we can say we didn't have anything to do with it.
And James Earl Ray was a third-rate thief. He made an incredible shot, 1 foot on a commode, 1 foot in a bathtub, leaning out of a window, basically. And the next day, or that afternoon, all the shrubbery was cut in front of the flop house he was staying in. There's a lot on that one that will never be discussed. I have some friends that were there, so I guess I'm on pretty close to firsthand knowledge. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably going to get audited when I walk out of the room. I know it. So thank you. Chair Lady, I yield back my 4 seconds.
Thank you, Rep. Burchett. I would like to now recognize Representative Boebert for 5 minutes.
Thank you. And I would love to let you gentlemen just talk some here. But when we're bringing up operations like Naomi and MKUltra, there's Operation Mockingbird that was going on at the same time as MKUltra, and it really ties into what Congressman Burchett was talking about with radio waves, where we have these like a Venn diagram of individual people and the military casting a broader net. So you have the radio waves, computer activity, the Operation Mockingbird, the programming that is taking place. So what do you see in relation to what was happening then and what we are seeing now that could be types of the same kind of programs and even using direct energy weapons or the like? Mr. O'Neill, you can begin.
I would just like to say one thing. There was an objective outlined in the early proposals for MKUltra to do experimentation to see whether they could do mass conversion, convert entire populations. I think that had something to do with the France incident that you were talking about earlier. Again, today, it's all speculation, but back then, they were trying to use psychological means to see how you could influence people's thoughts. And Mockingbird played into that, which if people don't know, that was where they had CIA assets or co-opted people in the media who would write basically propaganda and try to control the thoughts and beliefs of the population to what the CIA needed. And is it still going on today? I would be surprised if it wasn't.
Sure, I think we saw it even during COVID with all of the NIH funding that went to COVID and the Wuhan lab and then everything that came out of that, trying to make people believe in something that wasn't there. Dr. Kinzer, do you have anything on this?
I would say only that in the modern age, maybe radio waves and drugs are not necessary to control people's minds. We have such a great advertising, propaganda, press, social media collaboration that certain opinions are marginalized and real debate is frustrated because people are not given access to full amounts of information. So that's a way of controlling the minds of populations. It doesn't even require sophisticated electronic or psychopharmacological means.
Smart founders know something most people miss. Get your domain name even if you're not ready to launch your business. With Wix, you can grab yours now and then get to work. Here's why it matters.
Anything else you'd like to add for our next 2 minutes here? Do we haven't? Maybe you have answers to questions we haven't asked.
I would just like to reiterate something that I said in response to your earlier question, and that is that there's a reason why conspiracy theories are so widespread in America. It has to do with the disassociation between what we say we are and do and what we really are and do. This has become more and more clear to more and more people. Therefore, they're suspicious of nefarious dealings by the U.S., and they're also suspicious of other things that aren't nefarious at all. But there's just this mentality that is created by the covert sphere. And that is what makes people realize that things that used to seem really far-fetched are not so far-fetched after all.
Yes, well, Congress, we create these agencies and we even provide their funding. We appropriate that funding, and then they come before us often and are too big to even answer simple questions that we have and be held to account. And so it does cause for a lot of deceit, a lot of doubt in the American people, and certainly within us as members of Congress when these agencies refuse to answer to us, the branch of government that actually creates them and provides their funding. And then, of course, the American taxpayer, whose money is being stolen to fund all of their programs and agencies. So I think that would be another reason how these conspiracy theories grow, because government has grown so big it won't answer to the people. Maybe they just think the people are too dumb to understand, but certainly we want to get answers to the people. And I appreciate you gentlemen for being here today. Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you, Representative Boebert. Representative Burleson, do you have any further questions? Okay, I now recognize Representative Burleson for 5 minutes.
Mr. O'Neill, going back to...
All right, real fast. Yes, they covered a lot. But the part that stuck out was when the man he asked that question, but it wasn't even, he wasn't really expecting no question to that answer. He just wanted to put that out there. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. Let me see how. When he said, when the dude referred to, oh, you're speaking about the Martin Luther King incident. Because he asked about how the government can put something out there and just wait for something to happen. Because they don't know when it's going to happen. They just know it's going to happen. And so when it happened, they're like, oh, shit. And it's crazy how a lot of these men who, they say, like the grassy knoll incident, they always got 3 names. It's always some obscure person who ain't got shit do with nothing. And they still run them same plays today. How many times has our sitting president been attempted, been attempted on? Like, what the hell? So yeah, that's that. And he used the word algorithm specifically. He used the word algorithm. Recommend them, RL. And we know we deal with algorithms here on these social media platforms. And they do put shit out in the algorithm that they want us to believe that's not true. She mentioned C19, how they want everybody to believe that shit, and how they weaponize the media to spread it. They do that with our feed. They are not gonna let me pop up in nobody's FYP. If y'all found me, the universe sent you, or I sent you an invite and you finally made it. But other than that, I'm not popping up. Because they wanted me to pop up, I would. If I gave them $8, they'll let me get some views. If I paid them for whatever, I get some views then. But that's crazy. So the same way they can promote lives, they can demote lives. So I'm not worried about the numbers. I'm not worried about the fame, because it ain't coming. Not with the shit I talk about. So I'm just going to keep talking my talk and let the universe take care of everything else. But he mentioned direct energy weapons. If David was in here, David could come up and talk to y'all about the fascia. I wish David would just pop up. I miss David. But he'll talk about the fascia and how it was an energy weapon. So who knows how long this has been going on. So, but they definitely using the algorithm. And so, like I said, their efforts have advanced since the LSD and the hypnosis. They have social media now. They have the music. They have the food to keep us in line, keep our frequency low. It's why it's up to us to govern ourselves. And once we realize the truth, we act accordingly. Like, there's no way that you should, like, every time I find out something, I can't consciously partake in it no more. I was still eating the package of ramen noodles. But even my own mama, who ain't even enlightened about, well, she's enlightened, but she's still a Christian and all that shit. She ain't on none of this shit yet. Even they said that it's plastic in those noodles. So I said, damn, I ain't eating these no more because I've become consciously aware of a defect. So me being on the journey that I'm on, being healthy, doing telekinesis, keeping my vibration high, I can't partake in that shit. It ain't gonna work for me. I ate it even before she said that. I ate some noodles and my stomach was turning, and that was unusual. So I said, my body must don't want this shit no more. And then she said that. So they use the food, and it's up to us to once we become aware, to do better. So we can keep our vibration high, and so we can't be walked in on. We can't be MKUltra, whatever. We can't get caught in the scroll of TikTok. We don't get caught up with people who just talking good and ain't teaching us shit. They just using us for our energy. We got people on this app doing rituals on people unbeknownst to them. The same shit the government been doing to us. It's a direct violation of free will. You making people consent to some bullshit that you didn't tell them about. Instead of you just finding somebody who gonna be a strange motherfucker like you, you wanna find unknowing people and make victims of them and use them for whatever you doing on this app. That's crazy. Just find some like-minded people and do it consciously with each other. It may be more effective than you going behind people's back trying to use them on the internet. Just find you some people, man. It's almost over with. Let's do this.
To Charles Manson and the Helter Skelter incident, can you explain how in the world someone who is an illiterate musician that seemed to be not exactly the brightest person somehow became a cult leader and was able to, inspire all of these individuals to do crazy things?
Unfortunately, I spent 20 years trying to find out how that happened, and what I was able to prove was that from the moment Manson was released from federal prison in 1967, he violated his parole, went to the Bay Area without permission, and was immediately put under the supervision of a federal parole officer who basically gave him leniency as he gathered his group of followers, gave them drugs, dominated them, turned them into more or less subservient robots who would do anything he said. All that happened under the watchful eye of a parole officer named Roger Smith, who was also doing drug research at the same clinic that Jolly West had set up his operation to recruit subjects. All the way until 1969, when Manson finally ordered the murders that he was later convicted of, he had been arrested repeatedly for escalating crimes, beginning with petty thievery, stealing cars, and then rape, attempted murder, drug possession. Each time, not only wasn't he prosecuted, his parole wasn't violated. So the federal government, in some capacity, enabled him to do what he did and flourish until these crimes happened. And in my book, I make a case, and it's a theoretical case, that it was part of an operation called Chaos, also with the CIA, that we haven't talked about today because it really doesn't have anything to do with drug research, but it was created to neutralize what the government believed was a revolution that was happening in America in the 60s, beginning with the anti-war movement and then the black militancy movement and the Panthers. So it's kind of a big stew of a cauldron of possibilities that Manson emerged from all that when I don't think he should have.
Yeah, it's fascinating that you have an individual, Jolly West, who was working with this parole officer. You think the parole officer was making the connection so that the drugs were then flowing through?
Well, the parole officer was at the same time he was supervising Manson's parole, running a research project called the Amphetamine Research Project. Out of that clinic, and that was studying amphetamines and violence and drugs and group behavior and gangs in the Bay Area. Again, I hate to speculate. I know it sounds like a cop-out, but when you see the tentacles that cross paths with Manson when he got to Los Angeles as well, I believe that he was he was manipulated and at the very least given freedom to do what he did while he was being observed.
And then the same individual, Jolly West, ends up in Oklahoma, correct? So that's where he was operating out of Oklahoma during this time with Mr.
When he
Manson?
contracted with the CIA, he was at Lackland Air Force Base. He was the chief psychiatrist at the hospital, so he began his experiments there. A year after the letter that I quoted in my statement where he was describing what he wanted to do, a year later on July 3rd, 1954, a 3-year-old girl was abducted and found later in a gravel pit, murdered, and next to a car that had been abandoned. And the search party that found the little girl's body was approached by a man who was an airman at the base, and he asked them where he was and how he had gotten there. He was arrested for the murder and described by the military officers who had him in custody as being in a trance or daze. He didn't have any drugs in his system. He didn't recognize his wife when she was brought to see him. And at his trial, where Jolly West was his advising psychiatrist who examined him, it emerged that he had actually been being treated at the hospital at Lackland in an experimental program to cure his chronic debilitating migraine headaches. And he was executed 4 years later.
And then years later, he ends up volunteering to handle the Jack Ruby.
West does, yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So just before we wrap up, is it in your expert opinion that Jack Ruby and Manson were assets of the intelligence agencies specifically pertaining to MKUltra? Were they MKUltra victims?
Yeah, theoretically, Manson, I've never been able to prove absolutely. Jack Ruby, I believe, this is something else. The Warren Commission investigation on the Warren Commission was Alan Dulles, the former CIA director, who authorized and ran MKUltra until he was fired by President Kennedy. The liaison to the committee for the CIA, who handled the information coming from the CIA back and forth to the Warren Commission, was Richard Helms, who was a direct supervisor of Jolly West. They knew who West was. They knew that what West was capable of and what they had paid him to do and what he had reported to them that he could do, including inducing mental disorders in people. That was never disclosed to the commission as far as anyone knows. So I believe that West was put in there to keep Jack Ruby from telling his story.
Wow. In closing, I just want to thank you all for being here today. And we will be following up, Dr. Kinzer, on your request to fully redact. I'll be following up personally with the director of the CIA, the MKUltra files that we do have. Also, as I noted earlier, there will be more that will be declassified, specifically pertaining to newly found records that were located in what we were discussing earlier. I did also want to just state that for the record, in regards to what statements were made earlier regarding the German government, we will also be following up on that. If there are indeed people that were victims of this that have been buried, we would like to know who those people are and who their families are as well, in order to correct the historical wrongdoings of this government. Without further ado, I would like to state that all members have 5 legislative days within to submit materials and additional written questions for the witnesses that will be then forwarded to them. If there are no further business without objection, the task force stands adjourned.
All right. All right. That was the task force. I wonder if they actually some legit people, but you know, you can't trust these motherfuckers anyway, but because it's just interesting. that Manson, very interesting, y'all. Charles Manson. It said he was illiterate, no education, but somehow he was able to persuade some people to do some heinous crime to people they never met before. And he so happened to be under the care of that psychiatrist they called Jolly, the one who was leading the MKUltra experiments. He so happened, and then the Lackland Air Force Base airmen so happened to be his psychiatrist as well. You know, and then he unalived a little girl, and he doesn't know why. I wonder how can people do the most heinous shit ever? Like, how can they possibly do something like that? How could you hurt a child? He wasn't in his right mind, apparently. These assassinations of public figures, they be using people to do it. Getting people riled up enough to want to do something crazy, like try to hurt a public figure. Like MLK, John F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy. And what's crazy is, for some reason, I had did a it was this thing I did. It was like it was like these African leaders, all of them got unalived in October for some reason. It was they unalived date was always in October. And I forgot like what was the issue with that. Something to do with the government, of course, and them not complying. So they get rid of them and put somebody in office who will comply. That's why the African government be over there selling their own people out, man. Cause they not real or they being controlled. But this was the topic for today. If anybody would like to come up and discuss what they saw, or you want me to run something back, I can do that. Because it was crazy that lady did say my live got to discontinue because I kept saying what I was saying, of course. But a lady had said, and I kept rewinding it, she said, I'm up here to test the bot. Like, why would you say that? Why would you even slip up and say that? Because she was getting grilled. Because what she was talking about had nothing to do with MKUltra. She was talking about the NIH. And then that opened her up for questions about corruptions about C19. So it just made everything worse for her. Her ass glitched. I'm here to test the bot. See if I can find that shit. Because even that man with the bald spot was asking her, why are you even here? You didn't even talk about anything that we're talking about. You offered no information on the topic. Why did the Democrats send you here? The lady asked her why the Democrats sent her there. She don't even know. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Why did they send you here? She said, I'm here to test the bot.
5 to early 26.
They sent a bot. They sent a representative. This lady right here. It's Chrome. It's not Chrome. This lady. Her right here. She got grilled by this man with the weird comb over. And then she finna glitch out right here.
Dr. Genexi, you work with the NIH, correct?
She don't even work for them no more.
No, I am no longer affiliated with the NIH.
When did you leave the NIH?
April of last year.
April of last year. Did you ever speak with Anthony Fauci or any of your NIH colleagues when you were there about the NIH's role in funding the Wuhan Institute of Virology or the development of COVID-19 virus?
Questions.
No.
They talking fast.
Do you believe that the NIH or Dr. Fauci lied to the American people about COVID?
No.
Are you familiar with Dr. Fauci's statements to Congress about COVID?
No.
You didn't watch any of Dr. Fauci. You worked at the NIH and you didn't watch any of Dr.
No,
Fauci's.
I did not work at NIAID.
Okay. Do you think that, do you think the COVID shots harm American citizens?
No, I do not.
Do you think that the COVID shots cause turbo cancers?
No.
Have you read any, do you know if the NIH or NIAID track COVID shot injuries or cancers or anything harmful from them?
I am not aware of any harmful tracking, and this is not my area of expertise, no.
What is your area of expertise?
I'm a research psychologist, and I did not work at NIAID.
And you're here for?
Y'all, on her first part of her testimony, when she first talked, she talked about everything that the NIH has done in reducing heart disease since this year. 54% of people have decrease in diabetes, this, that, and the other. She got all the stats because she's a research person. She just said that. But now she's saying it's not her department. She's saying I don't know if they kept track of anything harmful. So you telling me you got track of all the good shit, but none of the harmful shit? Y'all wasn't tracking no injuries, no deaths. Y'all only were tracking the good shit. She couldn't answer these questions. And this is what she got at when she asked her, "What's her position?" I'm a research analyst. What you mean you're a research person and you don't know any of this shit? Talking about she ain't watched nothing Dr. Fauci said. You a goddamn lie. She was so adamant. Yeah, NIH this. Now all of a sudden, I don't work for NIHD. Ain't no difference. Stop playing with us.
What reason?
Let's go back.
What is your area of expertise from them?
I am not aware of any harmful tracking, and this is not my area of expertise, no.
What is your area of expertise?
I'm a research psychologist, and I did not work at NIAID.
And you're here for what reason?
I am here to testify about what is happening to the NIH right now.
My thing just went out. Did y'all hear that? Look at her face. I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna make it big for y'all. She knows she fucked up. She know that she fucked up when she said that.
And I did not work at NIAID, and this is not my area of expertise,
Because she's
no.
looking at her through over them
What is
glasses.
your area of expertise?
I'm a research psychologist, and I did not work at NIAID.
And you're here for what reason?
I am here to testify. I'm a research psychologist, and I did not work at NIAID.
And you're here for what reason?
I am here to testify.
And you're here for what reason?
I am here to testify about.
And you're here for what reason?
I am here to testify about what is happening.
We heard it. Y'all heard it. She is here to testify about what happened. And she knew she fucked up. Look at her face. After she said she corrected herself.
Happening to the NIH right now.
What's happening? I'm here to testify about what happened to the NIH. We're not talking about it, but the NIH. That's why she grilling her like that and looking at her over her glasses like that. Like, you serious? What are you doing here? You don't know nothing, but you a research psychologist? You a bot, ma'am. You are MKUltra fan. You drink the MKUltra juice every goddamn morning. She happy to go clock in for the NIH. If y'all heard the first part of her boring ass testimony, you would have heard her saying how she was so enthusiastic about working for the NIH. Now she don't know shit. Now she ain't never heard nothing Fauci said. Now I don't know. I don't know if they keep track of that stuff. I don't know. But she had all the stats earlier. They full of shit. Then she just glitched. I'm here to testify. I'm here to testify. testify. I'm here to testify. That's what happened. Folded under pressure. Cause why are you here? They all full of shit, Rockstar. They all full of shit. But if y'all just tuning in, shit, I've been going for about 3 hours. Hell, and don't nobody want to come up. I guess I'm done talking my shit. And they took the movie page down, so I can't play no movies off that one today. Guess I gotta use my backup if they didn't approve my appeal. But I'll be back playing movies on engineering media. But I want to share this with y'all because it's such an atrocity what they've been doing to the American people under the guise of helping the American people. We've been trying to help y'all by experimenting on some of y'all. Well, whoever they've been experimenting on. But between the movie Disclosure Day, CERN shutting down, and them admitting that they've been doing mind control on people, we got a lot to talk about. The government got a lot of explaining to do that they not gonna do. So I know that this world, everything that goes on in this world, everything happens for a reason. I know all the world is a stage. And I'm just playing my part right now by talking shit about these people. And if you look at the comments from the live replay, it's one dude who was saying they're gonna pay for what they did to me. Because people, they actually know that they were victims of this shit. And they can get some sort of, I guess, gratification knowing that their suspicions have been confirmed. They know they wasn't crazy. Somebody did something to them and made them do something they didn't want to do. They thought they was controlled by a demon or the government. It's the same shit apparently. We taking people out here because like how do people do horrendous shit? Where does your conscience go? It goes away. They do ask the question, do you think they put the algorithm out there and just wait for something to happen? Because shit just be happening. And we know they like doing fucked up experiments. If you just getting in here, you missed out on Operation Midnight Climax. That was conducted by the CIA. They named it that. So we know they do strange experiments all the time already. So ain't no telling what else they've been doing. And sitting back waiting to happen. For all we know, they create the culture. They create the prostitution culture. Women out there selling their body on the street. And then it's legal in Vegas, ain't it? Or the whole state. So they know what they was doing. It started on the East Coast and the West Coast at first. Not everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Apparently everybody's under MKUltra out there, bitch. And you go out there and do shit you shouldn't be doing. To the point where they got a slogan that tell you don't tell nobody that shit when you leave. So it's definitely some debauchery going on out there. You just in the middle of a desert and all of a sudden you see a bunch of lights. This little city just sitting out here, off right here, and everybody want to go to and do debauchery. They want to go to Vegas for vacation. They go to Vegas and get married for the weekend and go back to their real lives and like, why the fuck did I marry this person? I don't even know this person. But why they got wedding chapels in Vegas for? Look, they got drive-through weddings and shit. What is that? It's a lot of strange shit going on. And we know that they love to experiment on us, on the population. And that'd be the best place to experiment on people. I think the weed legal out there too. And then you get the street drugs that the government, that the CIA love putting drugs in the neighborhood. So we know they got some good shit they put out there. What up, Starlight? So it's a lot to think about. How people been orchestrating bullshit. They've been orchestrating violence. They've been orchestrating poverty, mental illness by doing these experiments on us. And now they're building these data centers and it's draining the water resources for the cities that it's in. The natural spring water is being depleted because these data centers require fresh water. How you gonna choose a machine over people? You better figure out a way to get that machine to run on some rainwater or something. That would be the most humane thing to do, not deplete the earth of her resources to keep your bullshit going. Let me rape the earth so I can keep this machine going. Not caring about the consequences, not caring about the generations after you, after them. They gotta deal with that. Not caring about the animals that drink the water, not caring about the trees, none of that shit. The fishes, none of that. It's a food source for all of nature. Humans, animals, insects alike, and it's being depleted by a machine. That's crazy. The machines are taking over. That's how that's one of the lines in the Matrix. You give the machines more preference over a human. You are not a human. You are inhumane. You are inhuman, and you prefer a machine. You prefer making money over human life, over animal life, over plant life. You just suck. And we need less of these people on the planet. So whatever got to happen is gonna have to happen because it's getting too much. And this ain't even all the secrets, y'all. I can only imagine there's more. These because people gonna start coming out saying all types of stuff. I'm gonna be here for it. So I'm gonna find all the videos, information I can, and I'm gonna put it together, and we're gonna come back and talk about the shit. This is what I'm gonna be doing with my time. But I guess I'll go ahead and get off of here. Find something else to do. I appreciate y'all being with me. Talking about this MKUltra, MKNaomi. MKNaomi was the military's version of MKUltra. I said these are just code names. So the military had MKNaomi. And we know they were doing this shit on a larger scale. They was controlling mass populations. That's why we at war. We was at war with Iraq when the Iraqi war popped off. Because 9/11 happened. These little band of people, the little Taliban, all of a sudden want to come over here and take over some airplanes all of a sudden. The same way these random ass, obscure ass men decide to become assassins all of a sudden and go get a rifle and shoot a motherfucker. But we also know that whoever shot, that man that shot MLK, he didn't even succeed. They finished the job at the hospital. So this world, we live in a strange world. And no matter what timeline I jump to or be on, the shit is just stranger and stranger. The woman just said she was a goddamn bot. You can't take that away from me. I heard it. And I gotta tell everybody else. This woman said she was a bot. She asked her, why did they send you here? I'm here to test the bot. I gotta clip this shit.
You're not here to testify about MKUltra. For what reason?
I am here to testify about what is happening to the NIH right now. I am here to testify.
And you're here for what reason?
I am here to testify about.
Test the bot. People ain't real. What y'all about to do? Shit. I done go outside and grind. I done gave enough of my time to these goddamn people, man. Get on my damn nerves. I'm gonna go outside and grind, y'all. Get something to eat. Hope y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Saturday. If y'all celebrate the holiday, happy 4th of July to you, I guess. Even though I know that my people wasn't free in 1775. So we got nothing to celebrate today. But what's going on, Infinity? So we got nothing to celebrate today. Because they say we didn't get free to June 19, 1865, huh? That's a long way away from 1775. The Constitution ain't got shit to do with us. We wasn't free then, huh? We were still slaves, they said, huh? That's what they said when they put theyself in. I'm saying, who asked for the government? When those forefathers went in their room and did that shit and wrote the Constitution, Declaration of Independence and shit, who asked them? Who said, damn, we need somebody to come govern us? We need a motherfucker to govern us because we don't know what to do with ourselves. We want somebody to tell us what to do and eventually start poisoning us. We want that. So they took it upon themselves to go in the room with they literate asses and make laws and put themselves in charge and then continue to do so and then build on that shit, modeling themselves after old England and shit, merry old England, doing all that cheeky business. So they couldn't even think of none of their own self. It just modeled after people. They just said we supposed to get free from England, supposedly. The Boston Tea Party and all that shit, no taxation, representation. But you adopting their laws and customs though. But you supposedly oppressed by these people because they were taxing your tea. But you want to adopt their laws and customs. It doesn't sound like we were victorious, guys. Not we. Doesn't sound like they were victorious. Sound like they just rewrote history to make it look good. It sounds like they lost. Because if you've adopted the customs and the laws of the country you say you freed yourself from, you did not free yourself from that country. The country is obviously still in control. It's like China colonizing Africa and taking all their resources, and them people just taking that shit. You've been conquered. They're gonna be speaking Chinese soon out there in Africa. But that was Bashar basically said they getting colonized like a motherfucker. But so that's what, just like they say they colonized the United States and ran the indigenous folks off their land, and now the indigenous folks get a check from them. Them natives get a check from them. They speak English and shit, and would have had the Indian schools or whatever because you got conquered. If you were still speaking your language still and still doing your own customs, that mean you won. So apparently, the United States didn't win shit. We're still under the rule of old Great Britain, and now all the dirty laundry coming out. So this shit making me sleepy. These some tired ass people, man. And now I'm hungry. Oh, I'm looking at this thing here. I bet I was reading something, y'all. But all right, y'all. Oh man. Have a good one.